NBCSun.com. Tanner, Bobby deserved better. We got a no decision. The Guardians bullpen giving up 6 runs in the 7th. Boston wins 9-4. Skipper Steve Vogt on the job Bobby did and giving up just 3 runs in 6 innings.
I thought that was as good as Tanner's looked in a while. It looked a lot like Tanner. I mean, 6 innings, 3 runs. You take that 100 times out of 100, and I thought, the first inning could have gotten away from him, but he dialed it in. I thought Tanner threw the ball excellently. Really good mix by he and Hedgie, and it was really good.
Second straight day, the Pen allowed a half dozen runs in 1 inning, giving up 6 runs in the top of the 9th on Saturday. In the loss, Chase Delauder 3 hits, including an RBI single. David Fry had 3 hits and scored a run. Now back to Bobby, still looking for his first win of the season after giving up just those 3 runs on Sunday. Left the game with the lead. Bobby just the 4th opening day pitcher since 1901 to make at least 12 starts and not have a win by June 1st. Bobby also the first pitcher in Cleveland franchise history to go winless in his first 13 starts overall this season. Bobby 0-7, a 4.57 ERA. Guardians announcing outfielder Angel Martinez dealing with a mild strain to his left foot. Martinez considered day-to-day, likely will be back in the starting lineup in time for tomorrow night's game in New York against the Yankees. Martinez had to leave Saturday's game against the Red Sox because of that sore left foot. Before the Browns return to practice for OTAs this week, the team will partake in the 26th annual Cleveland Browns Foundation Golf Tournament today. Event being held at Firestone Country Club in Akron. The Browns back to work in Berea tomorrow. First of 4 OTA sessions this week. You can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas. Up next time for the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima here on 92.3 The Fan.
Your day isn't complete unless you know how Cleveland fits into the national sports scene. The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. 92.3 The Fan. The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima.
I think there's probably been some conversations and some offers out there. And I think that maybe Andrew would look at one of these teams and go, you have the inside track. Give me the very best of what you can give me before we do anything else, because there's definitely going to be other teams that are going to be involved in this, but they're going to keep this quiet. I definitely think there has been phone calls made, because there's phone calls made on everybody, but this major stuff. This is 2, maybe even 3 first-round picks over time, more seconds, more thirds, things like that. Like, you're going to get a lot for Myles Garrett. It makes sense long-term. It does. But when you're the Browns, you still have young players. You're going to tell them that this season doesn't matter. You're telling everybody what you think of the quarterback room, whether you like it or not, whether they like it or not. That's what they're doing. They're punting on this season when you trade that guy, and then we're just getting ready for 2027.
This is Cleveland Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
Morning. Nick Pedone in for Tone today. Hello, Nick.
Morning, Ken.
It's a weird morning.
That's a word for it.
I don't like it. However, I'm going to tell you this right now. Can Jeff Thomas hear us? Can Jeff hear us? I know we got...
Jeff, your mic's on. If you
I'm
can.
Sorry, Mike. Sorry, Jeff.
Sorry, Mike Thomas.
Sorry, Mike. Jeff's is on. Is Jeff there? Someone get Jeff on the...
Hello.
I'm sorry, Jeff. I know I called an audible there. I want to know something. At the end of your update, you said the Browns golf outing is today?
Yes.
And what time is that?
I think they want the media there like 11:30.
All right, so he's not getting traded. Nothing bad's happening today. Nothing bad's happening during the show.
It's a happy golf charity event.
Yeah,
You're not going to do it today.
Noon.
Nothing bad is happening during the show.
Wasn't it like post June 1st at 4 p.m.?
Post June 1st.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff, thank you so much. I wanted to make sure of that.
Right,
So he said 11:30, somewhere in there. The media is supposed to be there. They have a yearly golf outing for their charity. The players play. Welcome to the country club, wherever they're having it, where the players play. That's an old one.
I was always told Atlanta.
Well, yeah, but we played it in Atlanta. That's why I was sitting there thinking, I go, what am I supposed to do? All right, so, there. I don't want to contribute to the conversation. There's weird texts going around. I got one yesterday, and it was like right in the heart of the Guardians game, like the 3rd inning. You're nodding your head. Why are you nodding your head?
Well, because I was enjoying my day Saturday, and I started getting weird texts, and then I relayed some of the weirdness on the Sunday show.
What part of the country are your texts coming from?
all over.
What part of the country did most of the texts come from?
There were two different texts. There was one text that came from Northeast Ohio, and then there was one text that came from somewhere else, and both of the texts were relative to the same subject that we're talking about
We're
here.
somewhere else. There's plenty of places out there. He's beating around the bush even more than I beat around the bush over here, Nick
Give me a
is.
time zone.
Give me a time zone.
It's in EST.
Okay.
They're in the same time zone
All
as
right,
us.
so
And
I got to...
that's on standard or on daylight saving?
On whatever we're on right now.
Okay.
It's 6:04 where they're at right now.
All right, because I got a weird text yesterday from a Pacific Standard time zone. Is that how that works? Pacific time zone?
Yeah.
There you go.
They're not up yet.
It's 3:05 in the morning.
Well, it wasn't this morning. That's my issue. It wasn't this morning, Nick. So, all right. So, like, there's an elephant in the room we got to address. Today is June 1st. It's not post-June 1st yet. Today, post-June 1st would be at what, 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock.
Everything
4
after
a.m.
June 1st.
So there's weird things going around. And I don't know. I'm getting bothered by it because it's almost like they're trying to speak it into existence with Miles. I have my reservations. Like, if they actually were to squeeze the trigger, and my whole thought of this as well, and I just heard it from Jeff, so it's like, yeah, there's got to be time dedicated to it this morning, but how much time do I dedicate to it this morning considering that there's a golf outing today, and I just don't think they're going to put their players out there to speak about it if they were to make a move during a golf outing or to agree in principle to a move that's supposed to be later on today. They very well could do it. Business is business is business, but that's just what I'm thinking. The other thing of it is if they actually do this, whether it be this afternoon or this morning, whatever. Yeah, Owen, what's the matter? What?
I just using the golf outing as, they're not doing it. You don't just call up the country club and go, hey, we're thinking about playing a couple of rounds on Monday. You don't do that on Saturday.
It's not.
This has been set up for months in advance.
It's not that
I'm not using the golf outing as a marker for anything.
Well,
and I wouldn't put it past the organization at all to march everyone out there at 11:30 and go, Miles is my best friend. I hope he stays here forever. And then at noon go, then we got 3 first in a couple seconds.
Well, that's the whole thing of it. That's the problem of it, okay? You're right. So, yeah, you can agree to something in principle today and then announce it tomorrow. The NFL does this all the time. But I just don't – I'd be surprised if it were to be 8 o'clock, we're all hitting sirens and Miles gets moved somewhere, and then they're going to go out there right before they golf and answer questions.
I would be more surprised if Myles Garrett was the Ranger this morning on the golf course than if he got traded today. There's no way he's going to be there, right? So
no.
Kenny, there's a lot of people.
I didn't like the way you put that. That's not a way to start the Monday morning.
There's a lot of people in Cleveland that just don't think that this is happening. People think that there's nothing to see here.
Well,
this is voluntary.
Do they not think it's not going to happen, or do they just not want it to happen?
Probably both.
I guarantee. I can't even look at social media. There will be people who are upset that we're even discussing it. And listen, I can't stop. I hope they're just people text me crazy stuff all the time. It doesn't mean that it's true. But if they're texted, if Nick's getting texts, then
that's where I thought
if there's
it was
that
weird.
many. No offense to you, Nick. That kind of sounded cheap. But there's just a lot. There's a lot of smoke out there, and I'm starting to walk through the rooms, and I'm starting to touch the door handles. Is what I'm saying here.
Same.
Go ahead.
And okay, so it is weird that I'm getting texts, but then it's
not weird that you're getting texts. That sounded cheap. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's that there were 2 texts from 2 different people that wouldn't have been talking to one another that told me the same thing. And that's when, because I was like you, Kenny. I watch the show, listen to the show every morning, 6 to 10 in the morning. All right.
Thank you.
And I knew you were a little bit nervous, and you felt that this Myles Garrett thing was a little bit weird. And that's where I was at a week ago, because it was weird. He hasn't met the new head coach.
If they made, Nick, are you a proponent of moving him?
I haven't even let myself get that far. Because
I want to know what the return is.
Yeah.
If they moved him today, I'll say this. If they moved him today, I can't fly off the handle until I know what the return is. Now, one of the people that texted me said, you ain't going to like the return. And I go, if I'm not going to like the return, then what are we doing here? It's got to be top end, most ever received for a it's got to be what, Ricky Williams style, I guess it would be. It's got to be ridiculous.
Ken, it's got to be your vehicle to landing that franchise quarterback.
That's all there is to it.
So I need draft picks in 2027. I need draft picks in 2028. I need a premier starting player.
And my whole thing is also, why do we well, there's been conversations previously, I'm sure. You don't just call somebody up the morning of June 1st and start this conversation out. But it's why are we in such a rush on June 1st, post June 1st, technically the 2nd, to actually do something like this? Could it be like but I look at everybody and there's a lot of confusion because it's like, well, I can make a big deal about it today, and if it doesn't happen today, then when do I become the guy who cried wolf? Because it could Micah Parsons, it happened with him in August.
Right.
So I can't spend the entire summer scaring people onto what this is. And I'm not trying to do so. I'm just saying what my phone did yesterday. I didn't like what was on the other end of my phone just because, to me, if you're trying to compete this year, it really makes no sense. And so if they did move him, I said to Anthony last week, there's a lot of different things that I think are into play. If they were to move on from Myles Garrett, that would consider this season. If they were to get a hell of a haul back, because maybe they just think that the haul they're getting back, there was no specifics. Absolutely no specifics were given to me. I'll tell you that right now. But when it comes to the actual haul back, quote unquote, maybe they just thought I was asking for pie in the sky stuff, and I'm not gonna respond because I didn't really. There was a couple of okay, thanks. I didn't really go further into it. Maybe I should have, but I didn't want to pump anybody for more information than what they were already willing to give. And it was an offering. It was just a volunteered offering of it. And I went, well, this just at 2 p.m. on a Sunday ruins my day. But I've had other Sundays ruined by 4 p.m, so it doesn't matter.
Kenny, I don't think this is something that's going to bleed on into August like the Micah Parsons thing did. My understanding of it is that we're going to have motion this week because
they were probably trying to work a contract too.
And this mandatory thing with Myles, he has to show up June 9th. He passed up that workout bonus, $1 million, whatever. But if you don't show up June 9th to meet the new staff, then you're really starting to cost yourself some dollars. So I think we're living in a window here after 4:01 p.m. Eastern time until June 8th. I'm led to believe that there's going to be motion on this Myles Garrett front this week. What does it have to be
at least for you to be okay with the deal? Because, again, you're talking about the player of a lifetime here that plays for your football team. And the minute I say that, people go, well, how many games does he help win? And I still sit there and say, how many games would you have lost had it not been for him? So I know that there's a back and forth to it. So what is the least amount you will take? Because to me, it's got to be two ones, 2 2s, and then down the line. It's got to be more 2s if we're only going to get 2 1s. I know asking for 3 1s is a lot. That's one quarterback situation. Maybe another quarterback situation right off the top of my head. But for Myles, if I would like 3 1s, if I can't get 3 1s, if they can't get 3 1s, if it's just impossible, I can't say, well, I'll hold on to them forever. No, if I'm getting 3 1s or 2 1s and 2 2s and things like that, then maybe I would consider it. Go ahead.
We're looking at Micah Parsons. We mentioned him this morning, and that bled on to August. He got moved for 2 first-round picks and a starting defensive lineman. I think Myles Garrett's better than Micah Parsons, right? So that's my absolute floor. That's where the conversation starts.
Well, the lineman to me just kind of gets moved so you can move the money around in so many ways. They can help, they can be okay, but I think that's.
Well, I think if you're moving on from Myles, I would need and they're saying that Todd wants to win games in year 1. Who's coming off the edge, guy? It's Alex Wright and Isaiah McGuire, the 2 nice players, but they're certainly not Myles Garrett.
That's basically what that is. Well, again, that's where it kind of goes down to is what's your goal for this season? Because how many games do you think they can win right now, Nick?
Well, when we did the schedule game on the Sunday show.
How many did you say?
Had him around 9, Ken.
You had him at 9.
And,
okay, if you trade Myles Garrett, where do you have it?
They won 5 last year because of Myles Garrett, I'd say. So I'm probably whittling it down to 4.
You're down to 4. Because I said they'd win 7, and then without Myles, I think of the gut punch of basically what you tell your franchise of what you think the season is. And what you tell your fan base, obviously, but what you tell everybody if you were to trade away Myles Garrett before the mandatory minicamp comes up. That's what I consider. And I think that plays into it. Now, eventually, they gotta circle the wagons and they gotta go out and they gotta try to compete. I understand that, but I have them at 7 wins. I'm thinking you're maybe in a 4 category, And I think that some people would think I'm probably being a little bit I'm being a little bit too positive about that. 216-474-0092. I honestly, I hope I'm wasting everybody's time. I hope that this is a waste of time. I saw the replies last week when it came to it, wasting everybody's time. This is not going to happen, not going to happen. I hope it is. I really hope it is. But clearly there's conversations going on in the league right now or yesterday and have been going on between one team out west. It seems to be there might be one team out east, which hopefully we'll get some audio for everybody coming up at around 7 o'clock. I'd get the audio sooner, but it hasn't been actually said yet. So that has to come up at around 7:20 later on today. Well, we got Danny Cunningham today at 7:20. Well, there's going to be an interview later on in another city that I'm having them roll on right now.
So we're already at 6:15 and we are already monitoring the wire.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm sorry. Hey, don't come at me. I got to do what we got to do.
What's the first tee time?
I don't know. I think it's after
it's a shotgun start at like around 1.
Okay.
Oh, I'm going to be shotgunning
Best ball,
something.
or what are we doing here?
Do you get a breakfast ball, or is that now embargoed because of the name of that show? What do you do? Like, I'm serious. I'm in a weird spot. I'm a Browns fan. Nick, I want the Browns to do well. I think there's been some people go, and I think that there's been people just because of the conversation. They're saying, move on, forget it. This isn't worth it. I mean, we've had them in the call box here numerous times over the past several weeks, several months, honestly. So I think people are at a long ways all over this spectrum about it. But I can only go with what I am, and you can hear in my voice I'm a little bit nervous about it. Because if it does happen, I think it torpedoes the season. If it does happen, there's an opportunity out there for you to not win a lot of games and go after the quarterback that you want. But then again, there's always going to be a fallout from that. Like, because, again, if you move on from Miles, and I'm sitting there going, what's the point of playing Deshaun Watson here? If you're still going to say, and I'm thinking of from 30,000 feet. Because if you're telling me, Kenny, you got to go coach these guys, it's like, yeah, I'm going to play the guy who I think best fits the offense, and that happens to be Deshaun Watson, then that happens to be Deshaun Watson. But if I'm thinking of it from a Browns fan, long-term perspective, what is this guy going to give me other than bad memories of football past and lost seasons? That's all I'm getting out of that. Now, that's a conversation for a quarterback. I know that, Nick, but these are several things that come to my head about this. That's all.
It's one of those things. What came first, though, the chicken or the egg? Because maybe Myles Garrett's looking at this situation saying, really? That's the guy that you're going to start at quarterback? I've been around for 4 years, the Deshaun Watson project, and I know you owe him $40-some million, and that's part of the reason why he's going to play. But if that's the bridge to 27, maybe Myles Garrett doesn't want to be a part of a bridge to 27 and whatever the master plan is. I don't think he does.
I don't think he wants to be a bridge to 2027. However, I think that you make sure that there's a bridge just by trading him. You make sure that there's a bridge there. But again, I can't guarantee what you're going to get back in return. And I can guarantee that it's going to be a massive hit to the fan base here momentarily if they were to make some sort of a trade, agree to some sort of a trade today, and then actually consummate that trade later on tomorrow. 216-474-0092. Guys, it really brings me no joy to speak about this whatsoever. And I hope it's a slow day in sports, and that's all, that we get accused of that. I hope that's all there is. I don't want to move on from him yet. I don't want to torpedo the season yet. You want to talk to me during the season? Fine. We'll talk during the season if things aren't off to a good start. But I'm not Andrew Berry. I'm not the Cleveland Browns. I'm not Myles Garrett. And I'm not one of these other teams that are texting. So we'll continue to monitor this as the morning goes on. 216-474-0092. Are you just tired of hearing about it? Do you want him to go because you're tired of hearing about it? Or do you think that this is more on us and we should shut up and talk about basketball? Ken Carman, Nick Pedone in for Tone on The Fan.
Or treat yourself to the very best signature, cleanest Unlimited Wash Club membership for just $42. For locations, hours, or to buy online, visit cleanexpresswash.com today.
Talk sports deep into the Cleveland night. Overtime with Jake Volnick. Weeknights at 7. Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Social media reactions are brought to you by
Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
All right, so they got in. They're getting in. I'm glad they are. 216-474-0092. Ian Schwifty says, you mean made up stuff that you guys want to rage bait everyone with? Yep, that tracks. I hope he's right.
I've gotten that all weekend.
I hope he's right.
I don't think it's rage bait, guys. I don't think people are just texting us because they feel like it.
Well, I mean, you guys, I hope you're right, but I'm not a rage baiter. I don't like being cussed out on social media. That's the whole thing. I don't sit there and enjoy. I mean, it doesn't bother me like it used to, but I don't aim for people to get upset and waste their morning. So that is, sorry, like that ain't going to compute on that one. Domo says, who is a great listener down in the South, he says the Browns are a 5-win team with Miles at best. Without Miles, they're fighting for the number 1 pick with the Cardinals, which is, I think, is something that he wants. Steve says it would be financial suicide to trade Miles right before asking fans to buy PSLs. I don't know how many they're buying with Miles, to be honest with you. I don't know how many. Like, you have to make the right football decision. And if they do make the decision, I don't know. Nick Pedone in for Tone today. If they do this, which I want to ask you if you're a proponent of here in a second, if they do it during the show, I want to see what the return is before I go ranting and raving and putting my face into a wall. Like, I want to know what it is. Because if it's 3 1s, yeah, I'll be sad that Miles is gone, but I got 3 1s out of the deal. So I got the return back on what I gave up for the Deshaun Watson debacle there. It's late, I understand that, but I got it. If I get 2 1s and 2 2s, et cetera, I'm not going to be that upset. If it's just like 1 first rounder next year and then whatever, because the text I got yesterday was, it was from somebody on the West Coast. You can name the teams. There's about 2 or 3. Oh, there's about 3 you would actually. West Coast football ain't bad. That you would consider any of them. I think we know where, though. Okay? And the other thing is that you're not going to like the haul. That's what I got. And I says, okay, thanks a lot. That's basically all I could say, Nick. I want to know, though, are you a proponent of this? Do you want to move on from Miles?
No. I think.
Now, why not?
The path to getting off the mat quickly is with Myles Garrett a part of this thing. And maybe I'm naive for believing that there's a path to get off the mat quickly. This is the NFL, though. You're not supposed to be bad for long. The Browns have been bad for a really long time. I just thought that if they wanted to retool this thing quickly, and all their actions proved that they did. They retooled this offensive line with veteran 30-year-olds that they handed big free agent contracts. They went out and got Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston. They're taking the strides to improve as an offense. Mm-hmm. And defensively, they were one of the top units in the league last year. So I just thought to myself, well, if you want to get off the mat quickly and you want to get back into contention, I get that you don't have a surefire solve to your quarterback thing, but Miles is a vehicle to get off the mat quickly. And if you're just going to say goodbye to him later today, I don't think you're getting off the mat quickly. And I think you're accepting your fate as a rebuilding franchise.
Because I'm sitting there saying 7 at best. I think there's a lot of people, and rightfully so. Like, I'm trying to say it's a step forward because I just don't know about the quarterback situation that we have. Like Deshaun, I made it clear. I really don't want Deshaun to play, but if he's the best one that's out there, I will accept the decision of Todd Monken. He's the head coach of the football team. I'll watch like a hawk, but that's where it is. Everybody knows I'd like Shedeur to start because at least it gives me some sort of a possibility for the future, even though that probably nobody in this quarterback room is anybody for your future or your football team. I think that Deshaun Watson can only muddy the water. All right, that being all put out there, there's people on the station who think they can win 10, 11 games. I want to know what they think, especially this afternoon from it. So if I'm saying 7 wins, it's hard for me to stand out here and puff my chest out and say, absolutely not, you can't do it. But if I'm looking at it from a different perspective, yeah, I think you would be upset. If you think that this team could be a playoff team or a borderline playoff team, that Kevin Stefanski was the only one standing in the way of this team actually reaching its goals in 2025 and 2026 or 24 and 25, then I think that you'd be pretty upset about this and hearing about this at all.
That's how it's been sold.
That's where if you think that this is a playoff team or a borderline playoff team, then hearing any of this is obviously going to upset you. But if I'm saying 7 wins, if I turn right around and I start cussing out the Browns for if they were to make this move, then I think that it would be pretty hypocritical of me because I got to think about what's best for the overall health of the franchise. If you're saying 7 wins, I just think that you're doing so much to hurt the culture that you're trying to build. And it's a difficult thing. It's a difficult needle to thread. Let me say this, Nick, before I get to the phones. 216-474-0092. I've never accused Miles of being a leader. All right? It's never been a problem with me because I don't think he's been a bad guy. I know there's speeding tickets out there. Those are honest, but those are mistakes. We look at ourselves when it comes to that stuff. I don't think Miles is a bad guy. I think Miles is bad off the field. I don't think Miles is particularly a terrible teammate whatsoever. I don't think he's any of those things. His teammates, in fact, you go ask Aiden Huntington, he likes him for obvious reasons. So he's been a helpful teammate. What Miles doesn't do is that, Miles is not going to stand in there and give every single rah-rah speech. Miles sees it from a different perspective. And because he's the best player on defense in the league, we accept it. It's perfectly easy to accept. But I got other guys who I'm trying to cultivate to be that vocal leader, to be that guy that holds people accountable. The Carson Swessingers of the world. I think Denzel Ward has tried to do his best in the secondary. There's other guys in the defense and the offense that I'm trying to bring forward and trying to bring along. Spencer Fano is a guy who I really, really like, who I think could step into a role of leadership on the offensive line, especially with all the things moving around. And maybe it's needed out of him because of the position he was traded or position he was taken for. If you trade Myles Garrett, I don't want the Carson Swessingers of the world and the Spencer Fanos and everybody go, well, this is what they told me about and this is where we're here and at least we're getting good paychecks and things like that. That's what I'm trying to avoid here. And I think that it could so quickly spin out of control, and I think that we've seen it so often where this is not the same type of league it was 10 years ago. So I can't guarantee that I'm going to go out and get you your next franchise quarterback. And there's going to be a lot of pressure on that young man, whoever it is, after you've traded Myles Garrett to possibly go out and get that guy. After you've torpedoed another season to go out there and get that guy. So there's a lot of pressure on him, and I don't think it's the same type of league. So I say, listen, if I'm saying it's a 7-win season, I can't turn around and say, you can't do this. It's an abomination. It's terrible. It'll affect the fan base in horrific ways that you can't even imagine. Some of that is true, but if I'm saying it's a 7-win season, what am I giving up? What am I giving up? So I got to know what the return is on this.
Yeah, because it feels like you're kind of selling like a bit of your soul as an organization, does it not? You mentioned Swessinger and some of these young guys. How you feeling if this news comes public, what we're hearing privately, Kenny, comes public? How's Mason Graham going to take that? It's a top 5 pick 2 drafts ago that plays right next to the dude. How's he feel
the only thing
about this being a place where he could go find success in his career?
There's and he would have to understand this, and I think he would. There's absolutely zero time for him to feel any pity whatsoever because at any moment, I hate the messaging of it, but you would have to try to tell them, like, hey, you guys are going to have to pick it up no matter what because we can't. There's businesses that has to be done. There's trades that have to be made. And if it doesn't affect you, you have to go on about your business and do the best thing you could possibly do for this football team. 216-474-0092. Deshaun in Cleveland, you're first up on the Fan. Hello.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You trade Myles Garrett, you're going to lose Denzel Ward. I'll tell you that right now. This is listen, there's no precedent in sports, Ken, where a best player on the team has been traded maybe since Babe Ruth. It just doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen often. I mean, there's Wayne Gretzky, but that was a different era, different circumstances.
That was the 80s. You're right. I mean, but it's just like it just doesn't happen. It's like you're gonna lose the locker room. These guys want to play with Miles because they feel like they can win. Last year's team was a 7-8 win team if the coaching was better. This team has to be better. There's no way this team is worse than it was last year. It's impossible with the rookies we've had.
You're right about that.
So why wouldn't people think that this would? And the schedule was way harder last year. It's easier this year. We gotta just give us a chance. We gotta keep Miles.
Well, it's
now if we don't do it this year, Yeah, it's the same Myles Garrett next year. It's not going to be different. He's going to do another 24 sacks this year. If we don't win this year, next year, okay. But
I was willing to go to the trade deadline this year.
Well, yeah, I'll do that.
You know,
if we're not looking good, that's fine. But let's give it a chance. I think we have a chance.
Because several of the teams, if I'm talking about West Coast teams, I mean, you look at it, the 49ers always seem to kind of be in it, even if they're always injured. The Seattle Seahawks obviously won the Super Bowl last year. The Rams are all in no matter what. The Chargers are a different style of organization. They're a little bit goofy, but the Rams are in no matter what. But the Chargers, they're a competitive football team. You would think the Chargers would be in on this as well. So any team out west that I could think of right now would be an effective possibility for him. But it's also the places where he'd like to play. I don't see him as a Seattle type of guy, so I'm trying to beat around the bush here. I think there's one place in particular or one city in particular that he would probably be open to playing in, and I think that one of those teams has made that call. And we'll find out some more information coming up here by 7 o'clock today. Again, I don't mean to upset anybody. I wish we were talking about something else. I'd rather talk about losing 2 out of 3 to the Boston Red Sox, which we will. I think I'd rather talk about Kobe Altman's message to the media where they might not be in a position where they have to make a trade or where they can make a trade. Because you might get down to having to choose only one. And if you have to choose only one, which move would it be? Cavaliers, Kobe Altman, his comments, 5 minutes away on The Fan. Northeast Ohio Fence and Deck, neofence.com. Let Jim Randall and his wonderful team at neofence.com take care of you.
SummitSound.net. Summit Sound. See it, hear it, feel it.
Sign up to be a part of the fan club. Download the free Odyssey app and follow 92.3 The Fan to get all of the best audio and best stories sent straight to your inbox. 92.3thefan.com.
We may win a ring here. We may never win a ring here. But I've won in life. I'm out of here. Catch y'all in 19 weeks.
That's Donovan Mitchell talking about the city of Cleveland and being in Cleveland. Boy, he loves Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell does. Nick Pedone in for Tone today. Lyman is back tomorrow. We are paying attention to some other things around the NFL. We'll get back to that coming up here in a little bit. Danny Cunningham going to join us at 7:20 this morning. If we have any updates at around 7 about other issues in the NFL, notably Myles Garrett, we'll get back to that because we are waiting for a snippet of audio from somewhere else. But the audio hasn't actually been said yet. The comments haven't been made yet on the other station there. So we'll have to get that figured out as time goes on in another city. So we'll get that for you hopefully at 7 o'clock. 216-474-0092. So Kobe Altman spoke to the media yesterday. You heard that from Donovan. That's great. Kobe Altman spoke to the media last week. He was asked several questions about Kenny Atkinson, said, Kenny's job was never in jeopardy, anything like that. The conversation about Donovan Mitchell, he's saying all the right things about Donovan Mitchell, says that he absolutely can. While Donovan's like, we may win a title, we may not. I still have won in life. I love it here. Kenny or Kobe believes that they can absolutely win with Donovan.
He's broken through to a conference finals, his first in 9 years, and he wants more. No one was more disappointed in our exits than he was. And so he has high expectations. And so do we think we can win with him as the best player in the championship team? Yes. And we're going to keep pouring into that.
So there's something else here, and I know that we can't always take everybody for their words for crying out loud. I mean, again, we're talking about moving on from the greatest defensive player of all time when, Andrew Barry had said Cleveland to Canton and things like that. But I want to hold Kobe Altman to this and just take him for his word at it. Here is Kobe on Evan Mobley and his future with the organization.
Not going to speculate on any players outside these walls. All I can tell you is since Evan's been here, we've had the third best record in the league. For 5 years, third best record in the league. Now, we don't have a championship to show for that yet, but all Evan has done is impacted winning. He's been remarkable for us in terms of our ascent, right, the last 5 years. A huge part of what we do.
So I heard that clip last week, Nick. This is very difficult because you have to get quality, you have to give up quality. I can't just give away our slop for great players. And this is what I think makes it difficult is, Donovan is not the guy people are looking for as much as they would be Evan. And if they're looking at Evan, are we willing to, after the investment that's been put into Evan over the last 5 years, are you so quickly to move on from him for Giannis Antetokounmpo or for somebody else? The easy answer for a lot of people is yes, but I think it's a lot more difficult than what we may think.
For sure, because I think from a fan's perspective, you're looking at this, okay, you're either on Donovan Mitchell's timeline to win a championship or Evan Mobley's, and their organization kind of proved to you at the deadline, they're on Donovan Mitchell's timeline to win a championship because they traded Darius Garland for James Harden, got 10 years older in doing so. So if you feel like you're on Donovan Mitchell's timeline, then yeah, you're probably wanting to see the Cavs flip Evan Mobley for Giannis. It feels like, though, Kenny, the Cavs might not be as hot on that. It feels like, too, like the Thunder, a lot of people pointed after that Game 7 loss to the Spurs, maybe the Thunder would be a team that could be, enter this Giannis sweepstakes. The Athletic Sam and Make puts out yesterday morning, not so fast, my friend. They're not after Giannis. They could be after Evan Mobley. So It seems like Mobley's going to have suitors. It's do the Cavs want to take those
It's also
calls?
what's more realistic because, Milwaukee's going to want picks as well. Now, Evan Mobley's probably better than a lot of the picks that you could get, but we don't have those picks. Other teams might have those picks. So when I look at some of the options that are there for you, I think the most realistic option is probably the craziest option, and that's probably LeBron. And then what are you willing to give up for LeBron James to come back in a one-year thing? And are you getting word from LeBron? Because I'm assuming if LeBron comes back, it's for 1 year, he's retiring afterwards, and then that's it. Has he agreed to any of that stuff? Does he believe that he's going to come back to it? Because if not, then that's kind of a different animal that we have to talk about here when you're going from 24 years old to 41, going on 42 years old in the move that you're making. Like it adds a completely different element to this.
Well, it's the elephant in the room, and I've been pounding the drum for LeBron to come back since last summer, and it feels like the sun on the island that I've been standing on is finally starting to come out a little bit because they're saying that they've got to make changes. Look at Dan Gilbert Gilbert's tweet, the end of the game 4, where he knows that this is a championship caliber team that's probably the 4th best of the 4 teams that were remaining in the NBA conference finals. So I do think that that's the elephant in the room, because like the way that Donovan answered the question, the end of the Knicks game, he didn't say anything, but just his body language in that answer, he was smiling in the ear to ear. And then the quick decision to bring back Kenny Atkinson. And you guys are talking about some sort of change, but it sounds like Mobley's going to be back because of everything that you invested and developed into him. It sounds like the backcourt's going to be back because you think you could win a championship with Donovan, and James Harden, because of the contract, whether I like it or I don't, and I don't, he's going to be back too. So it's like, well, if everybody's going to be coming back, but you're talking about elevating this thing further, how are you going to elevate it further? It's chasing LeBron James in free agency.
Well, and I think with Evan, I think they want to be a little bit careful about the things that they say around Evan until it's time to actually move Evan, if they were to move on from him. So you do believe that LeBron would be the more realistic one of the two? Because I think there's going to be many, many, many suitors for Giannis in Milwaukee. I just don't know how many realistically would be involved for LeBron. Any team would welcome LeBron, and more than likely, with the exception of a great, great few. But I think your competition is much less.
I agree.
You have much fewer people who are willing to really put up for LeBron James that he would agree to, as opposed to Giannis, who I understand doesn't have a no trade clause, but also would have to sign a contract long term with whatever team that they would be moving him to.
And that's why I think LeBron is way more realistic. And I know like there's a lot of the stuff, there's like a fear out there, Ken, that if you get LeBron back, like it could cost you Jarrett Allen and a sign and trade with the Lakers. Like people are speaking in absolutes about this, and the calendar just flipped to June today about how LeBron would never come back for, the minimum or the mid-level exception. Like people are talking in pretty certain absolutes when this is LeBron James. This is a cat that really we don't know what he's up to until he's ready to come out with that decision. We know that in this town as well as any. So I do think LeBron to Cleveland 3.0 is realistic this summer.
And I know it's exciting to talk about, but I think that of the realistic scenarios that play out to this, honestly, there's a lot that goes in with moving back to Ohio. I understand he has his home and he has plenty of people who'd let him stay in their couch, but it doesn't matter. But there's a lot of things that we'd have to discuss, because I think, who did we have on last week? Was it Geltzeiler who had said he's never played anywhere without his family? He's always had his family around him. It's different there. So I think that's one of the things that you have to play with. If I'm looking at realistic scenarios for everybody, the least likely is that Giannis comes to the Cleveland Cavaliers in a trade. The second most likely is that LeBron were to come back. I think the very most likely is that you just roll it out here with this year, and we start to work about any sort of trade during the trade deadline. Now, you're shaking your head like that's something that cannot happen.
That. You can't do that.
I can't make a team make a trade with me, though, Nick. I can't force their hand. I can't hold a gun to their head and make them make a trade. What else do I have left? They've kind of emptied out everything here. James Harden might be able to do us a solid here by getting us under the second apron, so then we can make trades during the season next year. But that might just about be it. Like I hate to be the bearer of bad news twice over here. I understand that we were just talking about Miles for crying out loud, and we will have some audio at 7 o'clock for everybody to hear about that situation. But when it comes to these trades, I think that you have to look at it and go, this is your team. You can be as unexcited as you possibly want to. You can be as excited as you want to. Maybe the finals will play into that in some level for some people in their excitement. But I think that this is the most realistic thing you have, is that this is your team going back into 2026, 27.
I can't accept that. But
what do I do? What can I do?
Tune into the Sunday show every Sunday morning, 8 a.m. to noon, and pound the drum with me to try to get LeBron James back to this thing.
Well, you can say it right now. Have him do it right now if you really want to, Nick.
You need to throw out the pitch.
You're on the air right now.
We got to work on it together. We got to work on it together. We got to get LeBron back here, because if you're telling me that a Giannis trade is unrealistic, and I agree with you, I don't think they want to go to a 32-year-old guy whose body could be breaking down if it means Evan Mobley, then you got to pull out all the stops. You got to recreate the video with Drew Carey, MGK.
He left when you made the video.
John Fanta.
He left when you made the video.
Brothers in the video.
You had Dick Goddard out there singing. He left when you made the video.
We need to pull out all the stops to get LeBron James back home, to Cleveland, Ohio, because that's the path forward. Like, you can't just run this thing back out here and expect to contend with what? The Knicks?
Listen,
the Knicks took care of you in 4 games. The Celtics, they got Tatum back.
But what am I going to give the
Pacers
what am I going to give the Lakers that is that
back.
enticing? Is it going to be just Evan Mobley? Am I willing to do that again for a 41, 42-year-old man? Evan Mobley, who can make LeBron's life so much more easier than maybe some other guys on the team. 216-474-0092. All right, Nick. Well, you keep saying Sunday. It's Monday. You're on with me. So if they want to go ahead and they want to agree with you, fine. 216-474-0092. I think it's kind of crazy. I don't want to argue against LeBron, but if you're saying anything for LeBron, I think it's a little bit nuts out there. We'll get to Danny Cunningham at 7:22. I want to pause that for just a moment because coming up at 7:01, Adam Schefter was on 97.5 The Fanatic over there in Philadelphia. We'll hear what he had to say about Myles Garrett and his future with or without the Cleveland Browns in 5 minutes on The Fan.
This is an Odyssey Sports Minute.
potentially is the best player in your team. You know what I mean? Like, so, I've told you guys the logic for, potentially trading him. I think it's solid logic. And this doesn't even have to be about him being unhappy, by the way. This could just be time, so we'll see what happens.
Listen for the MMQB's Albert Breer, Tuesdays at 5:20 on Cleveland's Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
Danny Cunningham, 20 minutes away. He'll join us. We'll talk Cavaliers with him. A couple of people getting in about the Cavs. I'm going to get back to the Cavs here momentarily. We did start the show. Nick Pedone in for Lima today. Where Nick, you got text on Saturday from somebody.
Text on Saturday.
See, my Saturday was fine. I had a perfectly fine Saturday.
I was having a good Saturday until these texts came across.
Well, you watched I watched the Guardians, and then we watched that Hail Mary movie. Did you ever see Hail Mary, Owen?
The Project Hail Mary movie?
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
It's
with
recent.
Ryan Gosling?
Got Gosling.
Yeah.
Ken, it's the best movie I've ever seen.
Oh, my God. It couldn't have ended soon enough. Oh, my
Really?
God. It was 3 hours. I was counting down the seconds.
Oh my, Ken, that's going to
But
win Best Picture.
I think some people are wondering whether or not they're going to count down the seconds to this. This is Adam Schefter, because my day got kind of ruined yesterday. But I told you guys we had some audio here, and I told you it's 7:02, and it's still 7:02. So here is Adam Schefter on my buddy John Kincaid's show, 97.5 The Fanatic in Philly, about the future of Myles Garrett and whether or not he could end up being a Philadelphia Eagle.
There are names like Myles Garrett that are on the rumor mill. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Any chance that the Eagles would be interested in a Myles Garrett, or that potentially a move for A.J. Brown to pick up more assets could involve sniffing around Myles Garrett?
I do not expect that at all. I do not expect the Eagles to be in a Myles Garrett. I don't expect that to be the case. I think that they'll take the compensation they get back for A.J. Brown, and that will give them additional flexibility in the future. I do not expect that to be with Myles Garrett.
Do you believe that Myles Garrett, though, that people are sniffing around, and maybe that Myles Garrett will be moved to somewhere else?
Well, look, here's the thing. That's a very unusual situation there. The fact that he has not shown up there, he has not seen Todd Monken in person, that's a little odd to me. But, again, I'm not expecting that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to pursue anything there.
So that's Adam Schefter on 97.5 The Fanatic in Philly. He says the Eagles probably aren't going to make a pursuit of him. Owen has something to say about it. Just real quick, I think that what he's saying is things that I've denied this entire time. The not meeting Todd Monken in person is peculiar, but I've looked at his behavior before, or his schedule before in the offseason, Nick, and the offseason schedule is kind of line up with some of the things that he's done before. So that's how I've made myself feel better about it. But now we're getting down to the nitty gritty. And again, when phones are starting to light up here over the weekend, you have to start making amends here of the possibility. But my issue is, Nick, I don't want to sit here and do this every day over the summer. I'm bothered by it, which there's people who don't believe that, but I'm bothered by it. I don't know why you wouldn't after all these years. I'm bothered by doing it. Two, I just don't think it's healthy for anybody involved.
I think there's two things here. I think the first thing is it was starting to get really fishy to me about like 2 weeks ago with the whole not meeting Todd Monken in real life. I was standing there at that Monken availability when he was asked, for the record, have you had that face-to-face interaction with Myles yet? And Todd's response was, Myles Garrett? Nope. And every other question that Todd had fielded, Ken, it was like a podcast with Todd Monken more than it was a media scrum or a post-OTA practice availability. He was cutting off reporters. He was so excited. He was overpouring with excitement to answer questions about Deshaun Watson and Denzel Boston. But the topic of Myles Garrett comes up, and everybody in Berea tightens up. So I definitely thought 2 weeks ago it was fishy. And then I was relaying that on this station over these last 2 weeks that I thought that there was something afoot here. I think that it's a little weird and it's starting to stink. And then I start getting messages on Saturday that lead me to believe that something could happen before this mandatory minicamp even rolls around on June 9th. Like maybe the reason Myles hasn't met his coaching staff yet is because he doesn't have to, folks. And I know there's a lot of people that just believe that we're talking about this because we have nothing else to talk about. And that's not, I'm here to tell you, that's not the case. There is something going on with this.
John wanted to have a fight with me about Project Hail Mary, so obviously there's other things to discuss. Yes, Owen.
Well, yes, of course. I think it was pretty interesting. That's 58 seconds of Adam Schefter audio. 2 questions asked. The first one was about the Philadelphia Eagles. It was, no, it's not happening to Philadelphia. And then the second question was, well, do you think he's going to get traded? And then it went, well, he didn't talk to his coaches, and there was never a yes or a no.
There was a lot of walking around.
Let me look over here while I do this. A lot of prestige happening.
A lot of dancing around. Thank you. A lot of dancing around with that. And it wasn't, I don't even think he was dancing around the question. I just think he was saying some things where there's possibly some irons in the fire. And I didn't hear anything about the Philadelphia Eagles, I'll tell you that. I didn't hear anything about that in terms of them. I heard of a team out west. And the person I heard it from is a pretty damn good source, to be honest with you. So that's where it came from. And I don't say this to upset anybody. I don't want to upset anybody. I just look at it for what it is. And I've been in denial this entire time. In denial. Owen, you can specify to it. I think anybody else can. I have sat there and said that this is his usual schedule. I said it's not weird that he was at the Cavs game. Didn't say anything to Todd Monken. Todd Monken, the Monken Man's answers have been basically the Monken Man's answers. What started honestly throwing me off was last week. And some people say, you're looking for a mountain out of a molehill there. But the Mike Rutenberg answer where he kind of humming and answered the secondary question, answered the follow-up question before the first question was answered about talking to Myles Garrett. That seemed to throw me off.
What kind of interaction have you had with Myles Garrett? Yeah, of course, knew that would be a question. I'm going to leave a lot of that interaction between me and Myles. There has been some. There has been some, yes.
And so I understand that there have been people who said, well, he can just end it himself. For Myles, there's other ways that this can go, where I've said that it doesn't help him to end all this. If it comes down to it, he could sign it. Guys, he could very well, with all that's being said right now over this hour, he could go out there and he could just sign another contract with the Cleveland Browns. And that, Nick, might be fine.
He play the same cards that he played last year, you're saying?
Yes, or because he has a no trade clause in his contract, he could just go right ahead and go, hey, keep talking. See if somebody actually hits the phones over this. Maybe it is an awkward situation. Maybe it is a situation where I would have read. I don't know if I'd want to pull up stakes and just leave a football team over Jim Schwartz for crying out loud. That's why I think that some of that seems to be bogus, and I'll probably say that if a trade is consummated, because I think that coaches come and go, and nobody knows that more than Myles Garrett. So I think it all being over Jim Schwartz to me seems to be a little bit silly. I think that this is a guy who's done everything that he feels he can do with the Cleveland Browns. And now, if an opportunity arises somewhere else, I think he's going to try to seize that opportunity. So that's kind of where I think I am on things with him. And if that opportunity is not good enough, then he will come out and he will put together a supreme effort. So I don't have any question that he's going to walk around or half-ass or anything like that. He's not going to do that. But obviously, the less he talks, Nick, the better it is for his business personally.
Yeah, because he's enjoying this. He's enjoying that there is this chatter. He could have put this to bed months ago. It would have been as easy when he was courtside at the Cavs game, and then they had the workouts in Berea the next day. You don't even need to go work out. Go through the building, go up to the coach's office, shake the coach's hand, real quick, small talk. Hey, Todd, I like dinosaurs. Hey, Myles, I like horses. And then you're about your day, and you could say that you've met in real life. They could have put this to bed weeks ago, a month ago. And the fact that Myles didn't kind of shows me that he kind of enjoys this a little bit. Mm-hmm. And the more that I come to think about it, have they really settled what his bone to pick with the organization was last year? That they don't have a quarterback. I don't think so. They didn't do anything this offseason to cure Myles' biggest concern with the organization, and that's that, okay, yeah, maybe they took a step forward, but they're not competing for a Super Bowl this year. I think even our most optimistic, most passionate, delusional Browns fans would admit, okay, even if you've got them going to the playoffs, they're probably not winning a Super Bowl this year. Myles wants to win a Super Bowl.
216-474-0092. Are you willing to trade away Myles Garrett here? Because the stuff that Schefter says, Owen saw right through it. I got to admit, guys, I'm trying to stick my head in the sand in so many ways because I don't want it to happen because I don't want to waste the season. But if I'm saying it's a 7-win season, the season seems to be wasted anyway. 216-474-0092. Because I hear Schefter, it seems to be a resounding no about the Eagles. What could they offer back in return? I'm not sure. With other teams, though, I think it's a possibility. And he did not rule out the possibility of that happening. And I don't want to turn this on, because I think that we can do this and do it for the best of all worlds if we're actually going to do this. But I don't want to turn Miles into the biggest villain in the history of villains. That's why, I'm not mad at Miles for not saying anything. I understand it's his business. I understand that, and I've said this before, the less he says, the better it probably is for his business to go out there and to not say anything, considering the ramifications that happened last year when he went out and went on Radio Row at the Super Bowl and all those other things. I think that there's a possibility that the more he says, the more it can end up blowing up in his face.
You think he learned from that? You think he learned, hey, I went out last year and I did my spectacle on Radio Row where I pulled out a flamethrower and I torched the organization.
Well, had he got injured,
it got me nothing.
He got a contract, so that was one thing. But had he got injured, there I think is some pushback with the fan base.
He could have got that contract without doing that on Radio Row. This is Myles Garrett we're talking about. He had won the Defensive Player of the Year. Now he's won 2 back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year. He could have got that contract without going torched earth on the Browns. I wonder if he learned from that Radio Row experience that didn't get me my way. That didn't get me what I wanted. And now I'm going to try to go about it the right way. I'm going to have the backdoor conversations with Andrew Berry, because Berry's been in contact with Miles.
All right. So
we know that.
Yeah. What we're going to do here, I texted Danny. Danny's going to move back to 740, 216-474-0092. I want to get to you guys on this. Is this a move? Is this a move that you think is imminent? Is this a move that you think needs to be made? Could your relationship as a Browns fan be injured if Myles Garrett ends up being moved at the end of business today, or if they come together with an agreement today that's supposed to be at the end of business today? Because it's supposed to be post-June 1st. They can't agree to something in principle before 4 o'clock today. Again, I don't think anything's going to happen by 11 o'clock today when they speak to the media at the golf outing, for crying out loud. But, they're a crazy franchise. I've been wrong before about them, yes.
Well, they can agree before 4. They can't do anything about it.
They just can't consummate the trade but they can agree to it before 4. I just don't know if they're going to go out there and talk and then go, okay.
They're not going to put their business out there.
Now we're going to go play. Now we're going to go play golf. Well, everybody's wondering what the hell's going on with the organization. 216-474-0092. I want to know from you guys on that, and we'll get to Danny Cunningham coming up at 740 on The Fan.
Hey guys,
Myles Garrett, though, that people are sniffing around and maybe that Myles Garrett will be moved to somewhere else?
Well, look, here's the thing. That's a very unusual situation there. The fact that he has not shown up there, he has not seen Todd Monken in person, that's a little odd to me. But, again, I'm not expecting that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to pursue anything there.
Just for the record, have you had any face-to-face with Garrett yet?
Miles?
Yeah.
No.
Well, the second piece of audio was definitely Todd Monken answering questions about talking to Myles Garrett. The first clip was Adam Schefter, 97.5, The Fanatic, on our buddy John Kincaid's show just about 40 minutes ago about the possibilities of Myles Garrett joining the Philadelphia Eagles, says nothing, and then leaves it basically open-ended that there's definitely other moves in the mix. We're in an impossible situation. Nick Pedone in for Anthony Lyman today. Now, Nick, I've accused you of this as a person who just likes to be yelled at times over some of the opinions that you've said, but you've enjoyed it, whatever. I don't think that you're out there trying to upset anybody. I'm not out there trying to upset anybody. I'm left in an impossible position. You can speak for how you want. I want to wait. I want to wait and see what could happen this year before we really explore the whole thing of trading him. But there's plenty of people who go, Kenny, you're being unrealistic. Okay. I would like to wait. I also don't like being told that we're just making things up to get through the day. Where, guys, right. I could sit here and talk about Evan Mobley and LeBron James, and we're going to talk to Danny Cunningham about that at 740. There's a lot to get into other than this. But when we're getting texts over the weekend, Nick got them on Saturday. I got them yesterday. I didn't know you even got texts about this. No offense, Nick. I don't know you that well yet. It puts a pall on the day, puts a pall on the show, and it could be a conversation that we could end up looking at, and they don't make a move, and then we could figure out we just wasted an entire morning. Now, there is possibilities that they could agree to something this morning and then make that move after the close of business today, which would be 4 o'clock Eastern, that they could agree to some sort of move after the close of business. Technically, that would be post-June 1st. However, to bring everybody up to speed on my theory, I don't know if they do it right now this morning, considering that they're going to be talking to the media at 11 o'clock during their golf outing. So I don't know if everybody's going to want to be standing there with holding their 3-woods while they're talking about Myles Garrett possibly being on the move. It's something, though, that I think that just bothers everybody for one way or another. So I kind of want to ask, are you ready yet to make this move? Are you ready right now to make a move? And I think many people are going, hey, and this is another part where it's at. Am I going to get red-faced and start kicking and screaming if whoever texts us from the West Coast ends up telling me that they're going to get 3 first-round picks back? How can I scream and yell and stomp my feet unless I have absolutely zero faith whatsoever in the Cleveland Browns? Then that point is the relationship it cannot be fixed. As a Browns fan, it just cannot be fixed. Because if you were looking at it and go, well, we can get another player or we can finally get that quarterback of what it is, the only time you would ever have faith is if you're in a position to draft a guy like Myles Garrett, or we've said for years, Nick, anybody could have drafted Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
You could have drafted Myles. I could have drafted Myles. Foghorn Leghorn could have walked up to the podium and drafted Myles Garrett. He was the number 1 pick that year with a bullet. I don't care what anybody has said afterwards. But this is what adds the intrigue to it here is going, how good do you think this team is actually going to be? And how much do you like Todd Monken? Because this is a significant challenge if they were to make a move here today.
Yeah, I don't like getting yelled at on social media a lot. It feels like it just ends up happening to me a good deal. It's not something that I actively seek out. I was like you, Kenny. I thought this Myles thing was fishy, and that's really all that I thought that it was, because I know that Myles has done this before where he skipped the voluntary OTAs. I did look back, though, to Kevin Stefanski's first voluntary OTAs, and Myles did show up, and I thought that was a little bit strange, but really I just thought the whole conversation was strange. And then I start getting these text messages on Saturday, and I tell my fiance Cameron, I'm like, you know what, this figures. I'm like, my life is starting to come into picture for me here. We're about to get married at the end of the month. I'm getting these cool insider texts. I'm filling in with you on the Carman show Monday. Things are looking up, only if the contents of said texts were not the worst thing that I've ever read. And that's talking about a Myles Garrett trade. And I can't sit here and sell that to fans right now because I've been trying to sell to fans that I thought the Browns were further along than a lot of people wanted to say. I thought this was a team that could be on the fringe of the playoff picture in the AFC this coming season. I got to park all that, though. Like, all that's parked until I know what's going on with these texts that I got on Saturday. All of it's parked. I can't sit here and say that they're more ahead in their rebuild than what people want to give them credit for. That's seriously what I was telling people after the draft. I said, look at last year's draft class. Look at this year's draft class. You got a coach that's preaching we're going to win right away while we're developing the nucleus of this thing. Mm-hmm. I was so optimistic. I was flying high about the Cleveland Browns. I really was. I've been at practice. I thought Todd has been such a breath of fresh air. They know how to knock us down a couple of pegs, though, because I feel this morning I got a hole in my stomach, kind of.
I have fought this kicking and screaming all winter. Not as much kicking, but definitely screaming. Because I think I've reacted the way a lot of fans have reacted. I thought that this was a waste of air. I thought it was a waste of our time. I thought it was a waste of the listeners' time for these possibilities out there. I think there's a lot of people who still feel it's a waste of time. They don't want to hear it. And it got to a point last week where I could not deny it any longer that this was a little bit weird. To the point, I had our boss, Keith, and Keith's an instigator and a ball buster in his own way. But, he had it himself. He go, Kenny, you can't sit here and be in denial this entire time. You can't just he's like, I know you don't like to upset people. I know you don't like to upset Browns fans for that matter. But you can't sit here and be in denial about this, that once Rutenberg had said something or kind of went around it in so many ways and was basically like Kato Kalin up there, that I couldn't deny it any longer. I could not deny that there's definitely some sort of weird conversation that's out there. Now, that all said, this is a very difficult decision to make. I don't know for sure that there's an offer to be made. I think that there's been offers that have been made out there. In fact, I know from one of the texts that I've gotten that there definitely has been some. It would be a very awkward week next week if Myles Garrett is still there, but it's certainly less awkward than Myles Garrett not being there, for crying out loud. So I've dealt with this and fought with this for the last several months. How much air do I give it to where I'm not being such a downer with everybody? And I don't want to be a downer with everybody, but it's now a distinct possibility. And you got to think about the ramifications of him not being here. It makes your defense worse. How much worse does it make your defense? Well, when you have to start and finish a game plan with 95, it tends to make other people available to make plays for you.
Yep.
And he speeds up the clock on every quarterback he's ever played against. So because he speeds up the clock, if you got guys in the secondary who can play it, and we have, it opens up opportunities for them. It opens up opportunities for other guys along your defensive line. If he's no longer there, this defense is going to fall out of the top 5. It's easily going to fall out of the top 5, and probably you're looking at, with everybody else, the most ardent fan, you're looking at middle-of-the-road defense. If your offense is still behind, still lower third, you're looking at a top 5 draft pick, which excites a lot of people. But let me bring this up again. We all know the golden goose out of this draft, whether you like him or not, whether you like the guy or not, we all know that he's the golden goose. Will the Manning family allow it? It's been done with his uncles, and it was done with his other uncle. People don't realize that, but it was done with Peyton. He ended up going back. It's been done with his uncles. You don't think for a second they wouldn't do it for him. They would absolutely do it for him. And so you have to make damn sure that all your eggs are in a row here as you do it, because he could very well, we could get to the end of this and you could be competing with the Cardinals and with the Dolphins for the first overall pick to possibly go out and get that guy. The Jets as well. Damn it, I didn't even think of them. The Jets, you got 4 teams that would possibly be competing. If you make this move, you are one of these teams that I believe is competing for that number 1 overall pick, quote unquote competing. You have to make sure that you're the place that he wants to be. Because if you're not, then we're having different conversations about other guys, and you could end up number 1 overall, and then he doesn't even want to be a part of it, and it just adds to the mystique of how bad your franchise has been over the last 26 seasons. Go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry.
Because I think part of the sales pitch to that family, to the golden family of football and quarterbacks, would be, hey, we've got an environment where we've got a top 5 defense. We've got the best defensive player of this generation. We've got this retooled offensive line. We've invested so much in these receivers. The selling point to the Manning family would be, Arch, you're the missing piece to this. We've got the rest of the puzzle put together.
If you still had
except
Myles.
one piece. But if Myles is gone, and you're talking about this as a middle-of-the-road defense at best, and an offense that maybe takes some steps in the right direction, but still has no real answer at quarterback. I don't know what the Manning family would think of that. Off the heels of this, if this Miles thing does come to fruition, like I believe that it's going to by June 8th, you're asking how much you should give this in terms of a runway. I think he's got to report mandatory veteran minicamp June 9th, and he's yet to meet the coaching staff. And they don't want to be in an awkward position year one at Todd Monken, who said that, on your show that he hates crappy football and that he wants to eliminate distractions. Yeah. Well, you're not going to be fining Myles Garrett or excused absence with Myles Garrett. If this is really a situation, they're going to try to solve it by June 8th here, and that's going to be a national fallout will ensue. There's going to be national pundits that come out of the woodwork that we haven't heard from in years that are going to be taking their pot shots at the Browns for getting rid of the best defensive player that's ever graced this generation.
Most of them wanted them to do it, which most of them wanted them to do it. I mean, we've heard every single possibility over the last couple of years.
The Mannings are going to hear that. The Mannings are going to hear that noise and that chatter about how dysfunctional, and I know Jimmy Haslam hates that word, that the Cleveland Browns are. Everybody is going to be forced to listen to that noise if they decide to make this move. So it's a move that they got to think really long and hard about.
Now, and I'll say this before we finish it up here, because we got Danny coming up at 7:40. However, and we got Daryl coming up at 8:20. Obviously, what we're going to talk to about him. But we're focused on the Manning scenario of this if a trade were to be made. I also got to think about Dante Moore as well. Hopefully he doesn't fall off the face of the earth like a lot of guys who have gone back. If he goes out there and has another tremendous year, well, I still think he's a guy who probably went back. Yes, there's money that's involved from Oregon, but I think he looked at the prospects of playing for the New York Jets and said, absolutely not. Now, that's my just personal belief of it. Maybe it's different, but I think he's a guy who looked at the possibility of playing for New York, seen so many other guys fail. Well, if we're in that situation, then you got to sell it to him as well. It is a different era, and there's a lot at stake here. Even if you make the move, there's a lot at stake there. We can be as excited as we want to about the draft, but then again, you got to get some of these guys to actually agree to play for you. 216-474-0092. Danny Cunningham going to be joining us here in 5 minutes. There's moves that can be made, but they're very difficult. Will they be made for this Cleveland Cavaliers basketball team, and which one is most realistic? Danny coming up in 5 on The Fan. Extend Technologies in Broadview Heights coming up in your home.
news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
This is certainly not a place where we're like, we need to blow this up and start again. That's certainly not where we're at. But those discussions will happen. But certainly internally, right now, there's more that we have that we can get to.
Kobe Altman on moves or lack thereof. What they do want to make, what they don't want to make, that they don't want to make some moves. Whether or not it's believable, we'll find out from Danny Cunningham, who joins us on the Wise Hard Right, We Make It Right, call Kyle Wright Hotline. Danny Cunningham, host of Locked On Cavs, as well as the Inside Shot on Substack, Cleveland Magazine. You hear him here on 92.3 The Fan. Nick Pedone in for Anthony Lima. So you don't have to, well, Nick might be a ball knower, I don't know. But you're not. I don't know if you're going to be challenged the way that Tone challenges you, Danny.
Ball knower, ball knower, ball knower, ball knower, ball knower,
Lots of ball knowledge. Lots of knowledge here. Thank you for coming on with us, Danny. What is the most... How difficult do you think it is to make a trade with this team for a Giannis, for LeBron, for just about anybody else? It is, as of right now, do you think it's maybe wishful thinking by the fan base who is saying, we cannot run this back?
I don't think it's wishful thinking. I think it depends what you determine running it back to be. Like, are you talking James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, and that is just considered running it back and other things can change, or are you talking about everything? Like, I think it depends on what your definition of running it back exactly is. I think moving one of those three guys is something that would be fairly difficult and I think unlikely to happen, but anyone else on the roster, I think, makes a lot of sense to at least see what you can get for those guys. So I think it kind of depends on, your level of difficulty for running it back kind of is what do you determine running it back to be? Because could Jared Allen be somebody I think makes sense to be on the move this summer? I certainly think so. I think with his contract going up, with what you could maybe get for him, I think he's a guy that you look at and say, okay, like if he is the best player in the deal, you still might be able to improve the way that you feel about things. Where if you're trading Evan Mobley, I think you need to get back somebody that is better than Evan Mobley in the present day if you want to make that move. And I don't think they're trading Donovan, and they're certainly not going to move on from James Harden either. So I think it kind of depends on what your view of the situation is in terms of what you determine running it back to be.
So if it feels like, Danny, that the backcourt is going to be back and Mobley is going to be back because of how much they've invested into his development and obviously that contract, it feels like Jarrett would be the odd man out. What do you think a return for somebody like Jared Allen could potentially look like?
It's tough to know exactly who could be on the market because we are still early in this offseason. Obviously, basketball's still going on with the finals, but I think that the Cavs need to look into getting somebody that can help out on the wing. Jared has been an awesome center, and he's been a really, really good player, and I think he did a lot of stuff this postseason to sort of dispel the narratives about him specifically that have been out there. I thought he had a very strong postseason given what was expected of him. So I think that they need to look into, can they find a way to maybe repurpose Jarrett into a wing, somebody that can maybe be a starting small forward or somebody that could maybe be your second best small forward, depending on who else you have there. So I think you have to think about it more positionally. I like Trey Murphy III from New Orleans, I think would be an absolute home run. I don't know if Jared Allen's going to get that done. But I think you're looking at guys in that ilk as to who you would want to trade Jared Allen for.
Boy, that's interesting there because he's such a weird player. I think he's completely outperformed his contract, Danny, and it just seems to be for like the biggest names. He just wouldn't seem to be enough, and it always felt like he was safe in that regard. But if we're not aiming for the sky there, and you're talking about a guy like Trey Murphy, maybe that is something that can be done.
But part of the aiming for the sky with him that I do think made it a little difficult to move Jared Allen before is the contract that he was on. Because you're right, he did outperform that contract. He just finished up what was a 5-year, $100 million deal that was $20 million a year flat. It didn't move from day one. He was just making $20 million a year, didn't go up, didn't go down. He signed that new contract extension that's going to kick in this upcoming season. He goes from making 20 to 28. And when you think about the way that trades need to work in the NBA, so often, and you do have a little bit more flexibility during the offseason as opposed to like if you're making this trade in December or January, but so often you need to be concerned about matching money. And part of the reason why it was hard to trade Jared Allen is because, okay, well, who is in Jared Allen's class of basketball player that makes roughly the same or less money than he does that other teams are willing to part with? Like, you kind of have to think about it through that lens because then it starts to get kind of difficult when you boost that up to $28 million. I think that pool of players that you could maybe acquire for Jared Allen does actually grow, because maybe you're now open to being able to take on a little bit more money sending out Jared Allen, as opposed to just the $20 million a year he was making before.
Danny, I've been pounding the LeBron drum since last summer, and it feels like this summer I might actually have a chance. A lot of people have pointed to Jared Allen as a pathway to getting LeBron back. What would you say that the chances are for a LeBron 3.0? And in your mind, is it something that does have to involve somebody like J.A. going to the Lakers?
It's hard to put a percentage on LeBron coming back. I think it's a very real possibility, though. I think that the Cavs should go into this offseason having LeBron James on their mind and having him be somebody that can come back in. I mentioned trading Jared Allen for a starting small forward. I don't know if LeBron James is the guy that's going to happen for, and I do think that a sign-and trade with a 41-year-old coming back to Cleveland would be a little bit of a difficult thing, because there are certain contractual stipulations that need to be met with the sign-and trade, and 41-year-olds you don't necessarily want on super long-term deals, and we don't know how much longer LeBron's going to play for. I think LeBron should be in the cards for Cleveland. If they can go out and get LeBron, they need to do whatever it takes to get LeBron to an extent. Now, would giving up Jared Allen for LeBron James make the most sense? I'm not as sure as that. I don't know if that is proper asset management, just considering what Jared Allen is worth, considering Jared Allen's age, considering LeBron's age. There's a lot that has to go into it. But I think at the right price, you need to be in on the LeBron James sweepstakes, if you will. I would be surprised at this point if he plays anywhere other than Los Angeles or Cleveland. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I don't think it makes a ton of sense for him to play in a different market. I would hate to see him wear a jersey this late in his career that he's never worn before. So for me, it's okay, either play in Los Angeles, play in Cleveland, play in Miami, or be done. Personally, I hope it's Cleveland. I think it'd be an awesome fit. I think it'd be a great story, but I don't know that giving up Jared Allen makes the most sense there either.
Danny Cunningham joining us from Locked On Cavs, as well as the Inside Shot on Substack. Well, Danny, what about the head coach, Kenny Atkinson? How close was he actually to getting fired? Do you know that he was close to getting fired, or was this always the plan all along? He was solidified no matter what he said to the media after postgame.
I don't think he was close to getting fired, guys. And I know that there's a big portion of the fan base that wants him to, and I certainly think he said some things, whether it was at practices or after games, that maybe didn't come across the way that he envisioned them coming across. But I do think when you make a trade, the impacts that the Cavs made this year, when they send out Darius Garland for James Harden, it becomes really, really challenging to win that season at the championship level. Teams just don't often do it. And I'm not saying that Kenny had some great postseason, because I don't think that he did. But I do think that if you want to look at this, if you believe in Kenny Atkinson as the coach, and the Cavs, had no reason not to after that first year, I think that you need to look at this and say, okay, we handed this guy basically a brand new team in February, and he got to the conference finals. And yeah, wasn't always pretty. Yeah, it should have been a little bit of a smoother ride than it was to some extent. I certainly don't disagree with those things. But I do think you have to give him a training camp. You have to give him an opportunity to really implement the things that he thinks make sense and give this team some opportunity to grow together. Now, I don't know that they're all going to be back, and two teams are never the same from year to year, as we know. But I don't think the Cavs were ever close to firing him, and I think that's a big reason why.
Danny, it certainly feels like James Harden is going to be back in the mix with the Cavaliers next season. Could that be their ticket out of the second apron? And could you explain to our fans how that's going to work?
So James is most likely going to sign a new contract with the Cavs. So he has a player option for this upcoming season. It is I believe, $42 million player option, but only $13 million of it is guaranteed. So James could pick up that option, and then the Cavs could theoretically say, no thanks, we're going to waive you. And then they only owe $13 million. That would save them, you can do the math. That would save them almost $30 million against their bottom line. That's not going to happen. That is not going to be a pathway that happens, but that is something theoretically that could happen. But again, it won't. What is most likely to happen is James is going to opt out of that player option, and he's going to choose to become a free agent, and the Cavs will have his bird rights, meaning that they can go over the cap. They can pay as much money as they want for James Harden. Now, they're probably going to sign him to a contract that is either 2 or 3 years with around $30 million in average annual value. which you can do the math, again, saves them a good chunk of money off of that $42 million player option that he had. So when you add that in with the fact that Dean Wade is probably going to be somewhere else, he's a free agent this year, and I'd be surprised if the Cavs re-signed him. Not saying that it's impossible, but it's something that would be surprising to me. You're looking right there at, okay, well, now you're already at a savings of right around $19 million, and that gets you really close to being out of the second apron. So I don't think that the Cavs are going to, and Toby Altman did say this, and this is something I do believe him on. He said that they're not going to dodge the second apron just to dodge it. Like, they will get out of it if there's a move that makes sense that they need to be out of the second apron in order to make happen, because some of the restrictions, and I think when you're talking about owners that are willing to spend money the way Dan Gilbert is, I think the second apron is actually more restrictive in terms of roster building mechanisms that you don't have access to than the financial aspect of things. Like, the Cavs have not been able to aggregate players in a trade. If they want to trade two players together, they need to get out of the second apron. If they want to use the mid-level exception, which could be used on someone like LeBron James potentially, they need to get out of the second apron. So I think that them getting out of the second apron will probably happen, because I think that there are some moves that they could potentially want to make that they need to have some roster building levers they can pull that are not presently available to them.
Danny, I know you cover basketball, but you're also a football coach. 30 seconds. Do you want to trade Myles Garrett?
Yes. Myles, there's no chance the Browns are going to be good enough to win at a high level while Myles Garrett's in his prime. Get what you can for him. He's the best defensive player in football. It would stink to see him go, but I think it's the thing that would be best for the long-term future of the Browns.
What is your definition of get what you can for him? Because that sounds like a low ball.
3-1's and a really good player. He's the best defensive player in football. You saw what Max Crosby was going to get in a trade from the Ravens, and Myles Garrett's a whole heck of a lot better than Max Crosby, with all due respect.
I mean, the really good player probably has to be like a rookie or a second-year guy, because I got to build for the future.
Great. That would be great. Get a good player in a rookie contract in 3-1. Sign me up.
All right, Danny, I love you. Thank you very much.
I love you more, Ken.
Danny Cunningham, host of Locked On Cavs, the Inside Shot on Substack, as well as 92.3 The Fan, Cleveland Magazine. He's all over the place. He's on the Wise Heart Right, We Make It Right, Call Kyle Right hotline. I compare the Cavs and the Browns all the time with each other. This, for the fan base, it's the exact opposite between these two organizations and what they want here over the next 24 hours. I'll explain coming up in 5 minutes with Darryl Ryder at 8:20 on The Fan. Now, usually...
that people are sniffing around and maybe that Myles Garrett will be moved to somewhere else?
Well, look, here's the thing. That's a very unusual situation there. The fact that he has not shown up there, he has not seen Todd Monken in person, that's a little odd to me. But again, I'm not expecting that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to pursue anything there.
97.5 The Fanatic in Philadelphia. Our good buddy John Kincaid with Adam Schefter this morning on the possibilities of the Eagles. He said basically nope. And then to anything else, Adam Schefter left it wide open. And it's weird. We just got off the phone with Danny Cunningham. This is two franchises with their fan bases in two completely different directions. I've compared them very often to the point that we had a coming in hot call about it on Friday, and then sadly the call got dropped because the person was probably going down West 98th, but I thought the call was probably the best of coming in hot. Nick Pedone in for Anthony Lyman today, by the way. Tone will be back in tomorrow. But when we talk basketball with Danny, like the possibility of not making a move bothers fans to their core. To run it back bothers them greatly. The possibility of trading, though, Myles Garrett and shaking up the organization when it comes to the Browns bothers fans a great deal. A great deal. Now, if you're just getting in the car and you're just listening, I did not even know till this morning that Nick had got texts on Saturday about the possibility of Myles Garrett moving on. I got texts yesterday. I got mine from a West Coast team. Basically that there was something like already done, quote unquote. These things fall apart. These things happen. They get consummated. Nothing can technically be done until 4 o'clock today. That said, they can always come to an agreement. Now, my theory is they're not going to announce any sort of an agreement because they got a golf outing coming up today, and at 11 o'clock, they're going to put players and coaches and everything up there, and they're going to talk to the media. And I don't know if they're going to want to sit there and answer questions about Myles. They're probably going to have to anyway, but of a move officially being done, Nick, they're not going to want to answer it. And I'm in an awful spot today as a fan. I'm in an awful spot because I got to know what the return is. Now, I was texted that the return is something I'm not going to like. I will tell you that flat out. So when I get texted that it's a return I'm not going to like, I guess I got to say that 3 ones is off the table.
Right. I that falls in line with the text that I received as well. I don't think it would be the Deshaun Watson package repeated back to Cleveland.
No. But I got to tell you, I'm not spending all summer doing this.
I don't think you're going to, Kenny, I don't think you're going to have to.
If you guys want to do it, then you do it now. If you don't want to do it, then I'm telling you, I want to seal it up and not do this until the trade deadline this coming year. If they're a terrible suck-ass football team and we want to do it again, fine, open it back up again. But I'm not going to sit here all summer and do, especially if he shows up next week and he's at the mandatory minicamp there. I'm really not going to entertain it there. I don't want to entertain it. It's upsetting to a lot of Browns fans out there. It already casts more ill will, casts more aspersions over what's gone on over these last 5 years. And then to double down and to say that they're going to start Deshaun Watson, boy, just really sends everybody to be excited and put on their orange or brown, does it not? So I don't want to sit here and do this every damn day on the possibility of speculation. I understand that we've done that about trades and bringing in guys, Odell Beckham Jr., which ended up happening.
Right.
But this, guys, I've been flat out in denial, to some of you, in denial this entire time. Now, when I'm getting texts on a Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock Eastern, I guess I have to take that into account. So here we are, and unjustifiably in a position I'd rather not be in.
It stinks, Ken. Like, this is the best defensive player that this organization has ever had. This is the best defensive player.
But we all say that we'd make the move depending on the haul that you get back.
Because I think we know. I look back to last year against the New England Patriots. Myles Garrett had 5 sacks in that game, Kenny. The Browns lost to the Patriots 32-13. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why some fans would say, okay, if I could get 3 first-round picks, I see what 3 first-round picks did for Houston. And they still haven't won a Super Bowl, but they're a perennial playoff contender in the AFC picture. And I think that's what we want to get to as Browns fans. And if it costs a player like Myles, who is 30, then I think that is a deal that some fans would be willing to make. But I do think you have a lot of the fan base right now that's still in denial. I think you have a lot of the fan base right now, even after everything that we've said.
Denial that it's going to happen or the possibilities of it happening, what are they denying?
I think
because I denied the possibilities of it happening.
I think there are still people denying the possibilities of it happening.
And that we're only saying it to upset them?
That we're just saying it because we're out of things to talk about and it's June in Cleveland. And like, guys, trust me, that's not the case. Like, we've got a first place baseball team. We're talking about the Cavs were one of the last 4 teams remaining in the NBA season. Like, I know you've got people that, texted you, Kenny. I had people that, would not text me this just for no reason. 2 completely separate people texting me the same thing. Like, I'm of the belief that there is something here, and I'm of the belief that this is something that you're not going to have to cover on your show every day to August, like what Dallas radio was doing with Micah Parsons last year. I think this Band-Aid, I really believe, based on the text that I received this weekend, that this is something that will be handled by the time they have to report June 9th.
That was still different. That was a contract dispute. To me, if Myles Garrett just wanted more money, they'd just pay him more money.
Right.
So I don't think that that's any of the dispute. The dispute is what you're trying to do for this year and what you're trying to do for your future. Because any team that you make a trade with, and I'm trying to understand every side of it, I don't want to end this season before it even starts. That's my issue. I got a new football coach that everybody seems to like for the most part here. I want to give him a good fair chance to actually go out there and win. Removing Myles Garrett does not make that opportunity better, because I think that for a lot of us, we're over 5 wins. You've said 9. Others have said 10 on this station and above. I've stuck at 7. I still got to see what happens with the offensive line. I got to see what happens with the quarterbacks here. So I'm just staying at 7 right now. And if I'm staying at 7, I think a lot of fans are sitting there going, well, Kenny, you can't sit here and scream and yell and say that you're against this trade if you're only saying 7 wins, because 7 wins is just going to get you to the 9th spot in the draft, and they ain't going to help. And my counter to that would be, well, if we're making a trade, it's going to be a trade with a top-end football team that's going to be a late-round pick anyway. Right. So this is what this puts you in a position of. And then we got to get to the phones here in a second. 216-474-0092 is that if you're making a trade, you're making it with one of the best teams. I told you that mine's from a West Coast team. Any one of those teams are a possibility. San Francisco's a possibility. The Chargers are a possibility. The Rams are certainly a possibility. Then the Seattle Seahawks are absolutely a possibility there. Those 4 teams are what you could think of there. You go right on ahead. Now, obviously, a team in L.A. would probably be the one that he wants to play for. But you also have to think of this. Now I have to put myself in a position where I don't want them to lose games, but I can't be upset if they lose games, because you're also in a competition now with the Dolphins and Jets and Cardinals for that number 1 overall pick, or possibly that number 2 overall pick, because what I would be turning around and hoping is that while Fernando Mendoza, I wish no ill will on him, I just hope that the whole ship is too hard to bring up and that they would possibly finish 1st overall with the pick, and then you could possibly move up with them. I don't want to hope for losing. Really, you can hear it in my voice. I want to have my cake and eat it too. It's just probably going to be an impossibility of things. I'm going to have to go out there, suck up the room, deal with conversations about Todd Monken this coming year, and then go into next year trying to convince, if I'm the Browns now, trying to convince if I have the number 1 pick or if I have the number 2 pick, trying to convince of a trade, depending on who gets the number 1 pick, or whether or not I find myself in a draft where Dante Moore's still good, somebody else is still great, one of the other 5 choices that could be a first-round choice, or if you got the number 1 pick, then we have to have an Arch Manning conversation about his family. So all of it just creates a muddier path to walk through.
Yeah,
Nick.
And
this doesn't clarify anything to me. It just makes it tougher on everybody involved, except for Myles Garrett.
Ken, in the 2027 NFL draft, that's a long time away, dude. That's a lot of cold Sunday mornings through December and January, waking up to go down to the stadium to watch a not great football team. And you mentioned the conversations that'll be had about Todd Monken. If fans, if they start losing games, the owner of the team said, folks, like, they won 8 games over the last 2 years, and that wasn't good enough. So if you trade Myles Garrett, going into this season, you're saying 8 wins over the last 2 wasn't good enough. You're expecting to be better, but if you trade a franchise icon, how can you really expect this thing to take a step in the right direction?
You can't. And if you were him, you'd say, well, I said that back then before we traded away Myles Garrett. Maybe things change. But you're still going to go into this season probably saying you're hoping for the worst, saying you're hoping for the best, expecting, quote-unquote, that you're hoping for the best. But I think to a lot of fans have long memories. I think a lot of it would feel like it's 2016 and 17 to them.
It would.
216-474-0092. Mike and Stowe, you're first up of the Fan. Hello, Mike.
Good morning, Ken, and everybody out there on the show today. How you doing?
Doing well, Mike. Go right on ahead, buddy.
Look, over a year, I've wanted to do it, and I didn't do it. I don't want to do it mainly because of the quarterback thing, because we might have our guy. I don't think we do. But everybody thinks about trading Miles so we can get a bunch of draft picks and get a quarterback. It necessarily doesn't have to be that. I want to trade Myles Garrett for as much as possible and just hold out. Just wait. It's a long summer. I don't care about dragging it out a little bit, Ken. I want the best value. So we don't take that first bid at 4 o'clock today. So what I'm thinking is this. The reason I want him gone is this. He's been here long enough, and I'm tired of this OTA stuff and not wanting to be the leader of the team. We want to change the culture of this team. It's time to move the part-timers away. Let's get him on while he's at the highest point of his value. Now's the time. But the time doesn't match up. We're not going to be good for at least 2 more years. I think.
Wait a minute. Denzel Ward hasn't been to some of this stuff. Now, he's been in constant communication. You want Denzel gone too?
Yes, I do, and I'll tell you why. Look.
Okay.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Listen, I'll tell you why. He's the first jersey I bought when the team looked like good. I've had Denzel's jersey. I love the kid. He's a great young man. But he's had a lot of injuries, mainly concussions, and I'm just getting concerned that he's at the same point in his career too, Ken. He's got, his prime is now, just like Miles. We're not in our prime. You don't keep talent that high in their prime when you're not there. That just is a waste. So I want to grab the draft picks. I want to change the culture of this team at the same time, get the part-timers out of here. We got a young defense, a new defensive coordinator. They should be here, not running around the world doing camps and going on vacation. If we want to win more games, which we're not, and I'll tell you why. Our offensive line.
Mike, I got to let you go. I got the gist of it, and thank you very much for the call. I disagree. I'll tell you why coming up in 5 minutes. We also have the dangerous one, Daryl Ryder, Browns beat reporter, 92.3 The Fan, 92.3thefan.com. He's been feeling the train tracks. Let's see what he has to say coming up here in 5 minutes about all this. Ken Carman. We got Nick Pedone. Now, I just say Nick. I didn't know if they knew it was you or Nick Wilson. Nick Pedone in for Tone on the Fan.
5. Event being held at Firestone Country Club in Akron. The Browns back to work in Berea tomorrow, first of 4 OTA sessions this week. And all the latest Browns content filtered right to your phone during this offseason by following the Browns playlist and 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Rumors abound. Let's get some answers. Daryl Ryder joins us. Daryl is brought to you by
Chibin Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
Hi, Daryl.
Hello, boys.
Nick Pedone in for Anthony Lima today, so at least I know you don't have to start a screaming match with the other side of me, because sometimes you and Lima have gotten into it a time or two, and it's been pretty historic stuff. All right, today the post June 1st starts at 4 o'clock today. Getting rumors about Myles Garrett's future. Give me a % chance that Myles Garrett is still a Cleveland Brown by the time June 9th comes around right now.
I'll put it at 40%.
That's not good. That's not even 50-50, Daryl.
No, I'm leaning more towards Myles being traded than him remaining. That's just where I'm at right now.
Did you feel that way last week?
No, I didn't.
Last
week I was 50-50, 60-40, he stays, but there just seems to be a lot of smoke out there right now, and it feels like the pendulum is swinging towards Myles Garrett playing elsewhere in 2026. We shall see, but today, obviously, 4 o'clock, a big deadline.
Well, it's weird because Nick said he got a text Saturday from somebody in an Eastern time zone. Now, I don't know if that was about an Eastern team. I got a text directly from somebody with an organization out west. And they just told me it's like basically a done deal. I go, well, come on. Not everything's a done deal, for crying out loud. But then I had to sit there and think yesterday afternoon, I've been in denial about this for a long time. And it wasn't until I heard Mike Rutenberg, of all things, that I kind of started to go, geez, this is weird. That was not a great answer. Definitely he was told to answer like that. Didn't like it. Still don't. And, here we are today. And, I'm not trying to speak it into existence or anything like that. I also know that, we're going to discuss it this morning, but I don't think anything's going to happen until this afternoon because they're going to talk to the media. Aren't you guys going out there at like 11 o'clock this morning for the golf outing? I don't think they're going to put their players in a position to have to answer those questions that he would already be gone by that time.
Well, and my understanding is they can't consummate the deal until after 4 o'clock anyway to fall in line with.
You can agree to it, but
right. And here's what I'll say to your point, Ken. And I mentioned this on X this morning. Andrew Berry works in silence. He does not like rumors and speculation about impending deals out there. Keep in mind, when he traded for Amari Cooper, that came out of left field, right? That was a pretty big deal. When he traded the number 2 overall pick in the draft to Jacksonville, we later found out he had agreed to that deal a week and a half to 2 weeks prior. Mm-hmm. He held a pre-draft press conference in which he convinced me he was drafting Travis Hunter. Now, I fell for it. I should have realized that was a red flag because Andrew Berry, that's just not how he works. He does not lay his business out there and his intentions out there for everybody to know and consume. He just does it. And then we all react to what he has done. So even the Jerry Jeudy trade with the Denver Broncos, there was not a lot of buzz surrounding that move that kind of came out of left field. So that's how Andrew Berry works. So do I think there could be a done deal right now, Ken? Oh, 100%. This could have been agreed 2 weeks ago with the stipulation that everybody keeps their mouth shut and we'll all announce it at the same time, whether it's June 1 at 4 p.m. or maybe they wait until tomorrow to do it or subsequent days down the line. But I think that's part of, if there is, and that's a big if there is a trade agreement, I think that's a big part of it, Ken, is the understanding that everybody keeps quiet about this until the Browns are ready for it to be announced.
Daryl, I told you yesterday on the Sunday show about the text that I had received over the weekend, and I believe, like you, that this is something that's going to be solved here probably before that veteran mandatory minicamp. With that in mind, though, since we've had a couple of days kind of between ourselves to think about it, what would a return package have to look like for Andrew Berry to really entertain trading Myles Garrett. We've, heard from fans this morning, Max Crosby, obviously that almost happened for 2 first-round picks. Micah Parsons last year was 2 first-round picks and a player, but I gotta believe Myles Garrett's a better talent than both of those guys, so the return should be a little bit more, right?
Needs to be a Godfather offer, right? At bare minimum, you're talking 2 first-round picks and an impact player. Maybe 3 first-round picks plus additional picks on top of that, whether that's another 3rd and a 5th thrown in there. But you are talking about a substantial trade. Here's the difference, right? I do believe that even though he's in the 30-year-old range, the value is still there for him. He just set the NFL record for sacks in a single season last year. He is not on the decline. He is not showing any signs of being on the decline. So it will be a substantial return for the Browns, again, should Andrew Berry decide to pull the trigger and trade Myles Garrett.
Daryl, just when you look at the entire Myles Garrett conversation, I do think a big piece of it innately comes back to last offseason when he kind of brought the flamethrower out on Radio Row and torched the organization. And a big piece of what he was talking about was the lack of a plan at quarterback. How much do you think that the quarterback position influences what could or could not go down as early as this afternoon at 4?
I think it's the centerpiece, Nick. I really do. The Browns have been searching since 1999. They've taken some big swings. Number 1 overall picks, Tim Couch and Baker Mayfield. They've tried the number 22 overall pick, see Brady Quinn and Johnny Manziel. They've tried the mid-round thing, right? Cody Kessler and Deshaun Kaiser and Charlie Fry, just to name a few. They've tried the big blockbuster trade, Deshaun Watson, and the big contract that came with that. So for me, I think the only way they can position themselves to take another big swing at that position, which that's what's required, is for them to make a trade on this level, because I don't think that they're a bad enough football team to fail their way into a top 1, 2, or 3 pick next year. They're going to win some games this year. Now, they're certainly, I don't think, going to win as many games should they trade Myles Garrett. Right now, as we talk, with Myles Garrett on the team, I have them projected to win anywhere between 7 and 9 games, which for them is a pretty significant step forward, considering they won 8 games total the 2 previous seasons combined. So that win total, obviously, in my view, goes down a couple of games if they do, in fact, trade Myles Garrett. But I will remind folks, for as great as Myles Garrett is, and he could retire today and be a first-ballot Hall of Famer, without question. There's no debate there. The Browns' winning percentage is just god-awful since 2017. It includes a winless season. They've only had 2 winning seasons plus 500 seasons since Myles has been here. He can only do so much. And the thing that sticks out to me for you'll never win if you trade Myles Garrett argument, and I get it. I think you can win. I don't know that you can win a Super Bowl without a player like Myles Garrett, but that the Browns are not even in that conversation, and it's going to be a long time, in my view, until they are in that conversation. They went to New England and lost the game 32-13 with Myles Garrett having 6 sacks. It was one of the most dominating single performances defensively that you will ever see. 6 sacks in a game, and the Browns lost by 3 touchdowns. That nothing encapsulates the Myles Garrett on the Cleveland Browns experience quite like that. And he made it clear at the end of the season, as long as the Browns are in the business of winning football games, we're not tanking, we're not trying to lose for draft picks or gather assets. I'm all in with the organization. Also, you're going nowhere in the NFL without a premier quarterback. Without a top-tier quarterback, you're basically dead where they stand. Well, I do believe the Browns are in the business of winning football games this year. I don't believe they're tanking. I don't believe they're trying to lose. Not by a long shot. They may just do that.
Got a funny way of showing it if they trade Myles Garrett.
Yeah, that's the one thing.
Tell you that, Daryl.
Well, and again, Ken, what are they accomplishing with him? And I'm not saying that facetiously, Ken.
I understand that, but it's not like they have a better chance to accomplish any of those things without him. Like I got somebody who says, why they asked me on social media, We already did the sponsor for social media, so I can read it. I can just read it how it is. Daryl, I got a person asking me, like, why do you keep saying that they're torpedoing the season if they get Myles Garrett? Name all the great defensive players that have led their teams to championships. And I'm talking about this season. I'm not talking about any other future seasons. Like, yeah, I'd love to have a quarterback, and by 2029, we all got diamond rings, and we're all laughing about this situation. But as of right now, I mean, they say they're planning on winning. They think they're better than what a lot of us think they are. Well, if you're trading away Myles Garrett, then no, this is not true whatsoever. Because if you have the intention of winning anything this year, you're moving on from him. The conference is open. The division is as open as I've ever seen it, for crying out loud. You don't make this move with the intention unless you think Deshaun Watson is going to be that great for you.
No, again, Ken, you're not going to get any pushback from me. Okay?
Sorry for yelling.
No. Look, I get it. It's if they trade Myles Garrett, it's going to be an awful day. Let's call it the way it is, right? And I almost feel bad for Andrew Berry because on his resume, he will have made the worst trade in NFL history and handed out the worst contract in NFL history. Granted, that was done organizationally with the blessing of ownership and things like that. It's not just on Andrew there. But then he will then have had to trade the greatest player, the greatest defensive player in Cleveland Browns history. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's tough. And the circumstances are what the circumstances are. So in some respects, if Andrew Berry does this, I kind of feel bad for him. But he has a fiduciary responsibility to the Cleveland Browns to take advantage of and maximize any and all assets. And I hate to speak in these terms because we are talking about human beings here, but Myles Garrett's an asset right now. All right? They're not going to lose their way into the number 1, 2, or 3 pick to draft the top quarterback in the upcoming draft class, which they need. They got to take another swing at this thing, right? Assuming Deshaun doesn't work out and assuming that Shedeur Sanders isn't the second coming, right? So they have to take another swing, and to me, the only way to do that is to acquire some additional first-round draft picks, and really, Myles Garrett is your only vehicle to do that. And the reason we're all looking at Myles Garrett right now is the contract adjustment on the bonus payments that was made that frankly did not have to be made, okay? Jimmy Haslam is not hurting for money, all right? It wasn't a situation where he's like, yeah, I'm not going to have that money. I'm not going to have that scratch till about September. So can you push that payment back? No, it's not that type of a situation. And a move, this post-June 1 move, I think it's around $41-42 million in dead cap that you can split over the next 2 years, about $16 million this year and somewhere around $25-26 million next year. So that softens the blow from a salary cap standpoint of making this trade. So, I'm not sitting here advocating for the move. Do I think it can happen? Yes. Do I think there's a potential a deal has already been handshake agreed to? Yeah, because that's how Andrew Berry works. We don't know what's going on between his ears and what deals he makes until he's ready to announce them.
Then, you sound like me a little bit here, Daryl, where you're saying there's a 40% chance that he is going to be a Cleveland Brown, which is less than 50, but then you're like, well, I could see where there's a handshake deal. So basically we're just telling ourselves something we don't want to tell ourselves here.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's okay to feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, where we're at. And also it's been weird this offseason, right? I mean, I've tried to be fair and not make a big deal about whether or not you met the head coach face-to-face or your defensive coordinator face-to-face. But let's be honest about it, Ken. It's a thing, right? I mean,
well, it's becoming a thing, clearly.
Yeah, and it is what it is. And again, I'm not trying to make a big deal of it. I've laughed it off. I even with you and Lima, I've been dismissive of that conversation. I'll acknowledge that, but I mean, it's there. It's real. And then, and obviously, if nothing comes down today or tomorrow, whatever, we're all going to be looking to next week in veteran minicamp if Myles shows up, which I would guess he would because, he doesn't want to get fined. But, we'll all be waiting to veteran minicamp to see if 95 is out there. But, again, I'll stress him not being at OTAs is not abnormal behavior for him. He tends to skip those. Occasionally he'll show up for one, but more often than not, he skips the OTAs. And if you follow Myles on social media, you see he's been out of the country, traveling the world, and good for him. He's got the money to do it. He's got his own life to live, and he always shows up when he's called upon to do his job at a high level. So it's real hard to complain about Myles Garrett going out there and enjoying his life in the offseason.
Daryl, thank you for the time. We'll talk to you on Friday. All the best.
You bet, guys.
Daryl Ryder joining us on the show. Of course, he's brought to you by
Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
All right. Are you ready for him to go? 216-474-0092. I can't talk about this all summer. So it's either today, tomorrow, or I'm done. All right? It's that simple. I'm not doing it all summer, Nick. It ain't going to happen.
I don't think, Kenny, I really don't think you're going to have to do it.
So you either do it or you don't do it. You either do it today, tomorrow, or you don't do it. I'm not doing this crap because I got Daryl. I mean, you can hear Daryl don't want to make the trade. I think he's understanding that very well a trade could be happening. Daryl and I have never seen eye to eye on a lot of things. I think we both feel the same way. Like, I don't want to waste the season. I don't want to waste the season. I don't think that their messaging has been the same as all this. But, again, they have no problem telling us one thing and doing another. How would this affect you as a Browns fan? 216-474-0092. Ken Carman, Nick Pedone, in for Anthony Lima on The Fan.
5.
Couch and Baker Mayfield. They've tried the 22 overall pick, Brady Quinn and Johnny Manziel. They've tried the mid-round thing, Cody Kessler and Deshaun Kaiser, Charlie Fry, just to name a few. They've tried the big blockbuster trade, Deshaun Watson, and the big contract that came with that. For me, I think the only way they can position themselves to take another big swing at that position, which that's what's required, is for them to make a trade on this level.
That is Daryl Ryder with us just moments ago. Hear more, 923thefan.com. You can also use the rewind feature on the free Odyssey app. It's powered by Integrated Restoration, your local experts in water, fire, and storm disaster restoration. 216-474-0092. So, we got a couple of calls about this earlier. And one of the things I kind of got to nip in the bud a little bit. Like, he is not a leader, not a rah-rah guy. It's not. I've never claimed him to be. Nick Pedone in for Anthony Lima today. Not talking about Nick, I'm talking about Myles Garrett. Nick Pedone, for all I know, you were a rah-rah guy. Did you play sports in high school?
I did.
What'd you play?
I played a little hoops, and then I played tennis when I transferred to
Played
Pedone.
tennis. Did you like flip over the benches and stuff with the tennis team before you guys went out there?
So we weren't very good. Here was the issue with my tennis career is that the team wasn't very good.
All right.
It was my first year ever playing the sport.
You didn't come to your mandatory tennis minicamp, or what did you do?
I was there, but I was one of the more athletic kids. So I had to play second singles, meaning I had to play the second best kid on other teams every single.
You played at Nordonia, right?
I didn't win a match, Kenny.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Because I was just learning how to play the sport, and I was going up against kids that
who grew up playing the tennis.
We're really good at tennis. It was a fun time being out there in the spring. You're out there early. You get a tan nice and early in the spring. But I was bad.
Nick,
I was awful.
I'm sorry to hear that.
When the coaches said, "Hey, Nick, you're new to tennis. We're gonna have a little get together." Did you go out to that, or did you go? I'll be here when tennis actually starts.
Did you go to the tennis get-togethers?
It was one of those things too. Yeah, I wasn't really at the tennis get-together. It was one of those things too, where basketball season could bleed kind of deep, and then you just show up to tennis.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. You know that the
what's going on here?
Didn't we just have a Winter Olympics?
Yeah.
Well, that could go kind of deep, bleeds over, and all of a sudden you may be a little bit late to the Browns. I mean, that happens. But like Mike and Stowe, he's not the quintessential leader, but I keep going back to the Mike and Stowe call. I said I was going to address it before we got to Daryl, and I just had to go right to Daryl. When you have a player that good and he doesn't want to be a leader, yeah, it's going to bother you because you want him to all be as obsessed with football as you are. But there's some guys, they got to do what they got to do, and for whatever and there's some guys you just accept it. We bring this up all the time. He's the best defensive player since when? Since Reggie White. Reggie White was the best defensive player since when? Obviously, there was some crossover there, but Lawrence Taylor. Okay, Reggie White was a leader in every single sense of what you could possibly think of. Lawrence Taylor, I don't give a damn what anybody says. Lawrence Taylor was never a leader. Go look at the rap sheet. All right? If I can't trust you to be there all the time, I can't call you a leader. This guy ain't a bad guy. This guy hasn't been arrested for any of the stuff that Lawrence Taylor was ever arrested for. So there's not really a lot I could say against the guy about get your personal life together, get your head out of your ass, and get here to camp. Like, none of that can be said. So he has put us in a weird spot because I don't want to come off as a hypocrite, because if he weren't that good, I'd be going, what are you doing? Get your ass there. Why aren't you there? But he's the best player on defense in the NFL. He's the best defensive player in the generation. And by the time it's all said and done, he can be the best to ever play the position. He's got 125 and a half or maybe 125 straight up sacks. You could see he probably has 5-6 years left to go. If he gets 16 sacks as it goes, there's a possibility he could break Bruce Smith's 200 mark. There's a possibility that he could do so. So he's there. So you want record setters to play for your team. You want your team to get better. But we are at a strong crossroads here because a lot of people are clicking into it, and it's hard to go against it. Like, Kenny, you say everything you want to say, but Lima has tried to tell you the truth about this team for years. Then that means that the Browns can say what they want to say, but this team is who they are right now. And who they are is a team that I said myself wins 7 games this year with Myles Garrett. So there's plenty of people out there going, Kenny, I know you don't want to let him go. You need to see what the truth of the matter is. And I say, guys, I understand where you're coming from. You're coming from a good place. You want the team to be good. I just got to see the haul. If I don't get anything back, like if if it's 3 first-rounders, going to be hard for me to sit here and scream and yell. Knowing that, but I'm going to be disappointed knowing that we're going to have to talk about some uncomfortable things, obviously considering Andrew Berry, because there's going to be a lot of trust that he has to throw into the ownership, because you can't make a move like this without your ownership signing off on it. There's no way in hell, or you're just fired right then and there. Or you're fired before the decision's actually made, before the trade's actually consummated, because he's that good of a player, and he's that big to the franchise. The second thing is, Nick, and I hate to take up all the air to it.
You're good.
Like, if I can't get 3 first-rounders, all right, what am I getting? Am I getting 2 in Jared Verse? Jared Verse, a young player. Jared Verse is exciting. He ain't Miles. Do I get 2 in him? Like, what do I get in return is going to be the issue here. So, well, you guys, we've been talking about it so often. It's been told that I have to talk about it so often because there's so much smoke that I have to think about, all right, what do I get in return? Sorry, Nick, go ahead.
No, you're good. You said that if they trade Miles earlier in the show, that it would certainly feel like 2016-17. You'd be kind of accepting your fate as a rebuilding franchise. And Kenny, I remember in those years, the one thing we were clamoring for as a city, as a fan base, as an organization, as a media, some game-changing players would have gone a long way back in those 16, 1-15. During that down time, we knew that it was a roster that didn't have any talent on it. I think what's different about this current roster, even though right now they are certainly in a retool, I don't think anybody has the Browns as an actual Super Bowl contender, is there are some places on the roster where you can point to and say, all right, there's a little bit of talent there. Myles Garrett is obviously the start of that conversation. You have the best defensive end in the game. That goes a long way. Went 5 wins last year. Denzel Ward is another spot that you could look at and say, well, I know I've got a player there. You could find different pieces and parts on this Browns roster where you could sell yourself on this thing not being as bad as it was during those dark times that were less than 10 years ago. We just lived through this, Kenny. 10 years ago, where they went over a calendar year without winning a football game.
And they did this for him.
And it was strategic.
They ended up doing this for him.
It was strategic. They were the cheapest roster in football. They were the youngest. They were eating up those draft picks so they could go get Myles Garrett.
I should say they ended up doing it for him. Like I said, they did. I don't know if I think they had a quarterback in their eyes then, and then obviously in that draft in 2016-17, it didn't go their way. Go ahead.
It's just like we lived through that rebuild less than 10 years ago, so we wouldn't be doing this. 10 years removed, and here we are 10 years removed having that same scary conversation.
No, honestly, this is where it is that they very well could. 10 years is a long time. Now, your goal was to take the quarterback where you wouldn't have to do it 10 years. But Myles Garrett, there is a shelf life there with a lot of these guys. He happens to be much better than a lot of this stuff. But when you look at where their timelines are, look at the guys that you've had to say goodbye to here over the last couple of years and who you're still going to have to say goodbye to. You've had top quality players. There are good football players who played for this football team over the course of time. You have made the playoffs twice, legitimately been a playoff team 2 times over. And because you never had the quarterback, or because you had a quarterback that at one point was too immature, and then he matured, but it was too late, and then everybody lost their heads, you're dealing with the ramifications. This should be, honestly, a normal way to go through it, where you would still have the quarterback, and then we would have to discuss, all right, maybe we move on from this player and that player so we can replenish some of this, but we still hold on to this quarterback and he still keeps our head above water. It's easy to say Mahomes because he's that guy, because they've had to let go of guys in Kansas City, but they still have held on to who? They've still held on to Chris Jones. On the defensive side of things, they were able to rework something with Travis Kelce. If Travis Kelce wasn't going to agree to it, they probably would have let him go. Like, this is honestly the normal way that things go, with the exception of we haven't had the results of what the good teams have had. The Bills have had to make amends with some of the moves out there. You've had a revitalization with the Rams because they've had Matt Stafford age so well, even with the back injuries and some of the other stuff. They've been able to rob Peter to pay Paul, but they should be going through it. 216-474-0092. Like, we think about all these teams that are a possibility, whether it be Rams, whether it be Chargers, whether it be, I don't know what the Seahawks can really offer, whether it be the 49ers. Somebody said, well, can we get 2s and somebody from the 49ers? Okay, maybe there's a possibility there with the 49ers. Somebody's brought up Mac Jones on my social media. Oh, that'd be a hell of a thing. 216-474-0092. Ken Carman. We got Nick Pedone, Stetson Bennett. Ken Carman, Nick Pedone, and for Anthony Lima, live on The Fan.
Your mornings are about to change with 92.3 The Fan. We're going local at 5 a.m. It's The Fan Warm-Up Show with Jeff Thomas. All the latest from the night before in Cleveland sports and getting your day started even earlier. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Two 216-474-0092. Adam Schefter on The Fanatic earlier today. This morning with our buddy John Kincaid. It was around 6:45 this morning. He was asked about the future of Myles Garrett. The question started with the Eagles, which it was basically an emphatic no, and then, we got around to this. But here's the entire answer from Adam Schefter, 97.5 The Fanatic in Philadelphia.
I do not expect the Eagles to be in Myles Garrett. I don't expect that to be the case. I think that they'll take the compensation they get back for A.J. Brown, and that will give them additional flexibility in the future. I do not expect that to be with Myles Garrett.
Do you believe that Myles Garrett, though, that people are sniffing around and maybe that Myles Garrett will be moved to somewhere else?
Well, look, here's the thing. That's a very unusual situation there. The fact that he has not shown up there, he has not seen Todd Monken in person, that's a little odd to me. But again, I'm not expecting that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to pursue anything there.
So I'm hearing from him that he kind of dances around it. The only thing he's certain on is Philadelphia. Now, Nick said he got text Saturday. I got text Sunday. I'm not going to tell you exactly who, obviously, but it was somebody from a team on the west side of the country, someone from the organization. And it was obviously nothing that I wanted to read, and we'll find out later on today. I don't think that anything's going to happen today unless, and I think it was Owen who said it. Now, Nick's in for Anthony, but was it you who said, maybe they'll just get it out of the way if they wanted to do it that way?
Yeah, well, I mean, they can't consummate it until 4 o'clock.
Right.
But,
So technically by league rules, 4:01 p.m. is when this is allowed to be consummated so they could spread across that dead cap. But Kenny, your theory all morning has been that the Browns have this charity foundation golf outing that the media is set to descend on Firestone Country Club 11 a.m. So you don't think that they would want this to get out there if a trade really is agreed to with a West Coast team, because they've got their players, they're going to have their coaches, everybody's going to be out there.
Yeah, but it's already out there. I mean, it's not so much of a trade being a done deal, but the fact that we're even doing this morning, it's out there. It's coming this morning, right? So, Andrew, if you weren't ready, be ready. It's coming this morning. Players,
does he answer questions today? Does Andrew?
I don't know if he does or not, but Todd's going to talk today. It's going to be asked today. It should be asked today, and he has to be ready for it. You're going to get, I don't know if, Mason Graham's there or whatever, but he's going to be asked about it. Denzel hasn't been at anything else. He might be at this, though. This is a charitable type thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be asked about it if he's there. I mean, it's not going to be brushed over, and you know who the reporters are who are going to do it, and they're going to do it 2 or 3 or 4 times a piece. It's going to be asked.
216-474-0092. All right, Jim in Strongsville, you're first up on the Fan. Hello.
Hello. How are you, boys?
Doing all right, Jim.
I listened to Daryl and this Ken, you too, with the 7-9 win thing. Did we get better at quarterback somehow that I missed? We're expecting first and second year skill position players.
Hey, man, you could win. You won 5 games last year. Tell me you can't win 7 games with a worse schedule? You don't have to have that great a quarterback play to win 7 games. With what they have.
It's hard to win games in the NFL. When you look down the stretch, there were
no kidding.
I don't want to get into that, but when I look at it.
Well, you started the call with it. You didn't want to get in with it. Why bring it up?
Because
you're doing the thing that everybody's accusing me of it, going, Ken, if you don't really want to talk about it, you have to ignore it. I go, I can't ignore the elephant in the room now, can I?
I don't think they get there, Ken. And why do I not think they get there? I look down the stretch, and I look at that Cincinnati game. I look at some of the games that they won down the stretch, and I'm kind of like, okay, where's those?
Okay, so they don't get the 7 wins. They don't get to middle of the road. So what's the issue?
My issue is that the issue there is, and then what the issue is. I'm making the point that I don't think this team is going to make this jump. Do I think they're building for the future? I absolutely do think they're building for the future. I think they're getting better, But does getting better going to reflect in wins this year? I don't think so. And I also take umbrage with this fact that Daryl keeps saying, like, well, you got to get to 1, 2, or 3 to get the quarterback. Really? Because when I look at the history of drafting quarterbacks, how many of them fell in 1, 2,
so
or 3?
what are we doing here? Hold on. What are we doing here? Do you disagree? So you disagree that they can get the 7 wins? You disagree? You don't think that they? Okay, you think it's a stretch. So are you advocating to trade for Myles Garrett or trade Myles Garrett away? Is that what we're doing here, or what are we doing?
I love Myles Garrett, and I was a season ticket holder. It gave me something to go there and watch. But you know what? On this team right now, it's like, what are you going to do? You going to put nice tires on a bad car?
It's okay.
You're not going to do that. It's like detailing a jalopy. What are we doing? He adds very. I mean, you saw it. They said it earlier. He had 6 sacks in a game, and we lost by 28. What does it really matter at this point? You're rebuilding for, I hate to say this, but you're rebuilding for the new stadium. So what at this point does it really matter?
Oh, my God. Can we stop with this? For the new stadium stuff, Jim, I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling at everybody. Guys, if they have a bad team in 2029, you're not going to go to the new stadium. The whole building for the new stadium thing, I don't understand. You have to have a good team in 2028 to entice people to want to go in 2029. If you're still just bad and you've been bad for 5 years before the stadium opens, yeah, you'll get some people who want to go in and take a look at the new stadium, and then that'll be it. So you have tours, but I don't know if anybody's plunking down PSLs and season tickets for a bad football team just because they happen to play in a new stadium. The whole building for it, you have to have a good team when you go into the new stadium.
As a season ticket holder, I can tell you right now, I'm out. I'm not.
Yeah, you and a bunch of other people, Jim. So again, why are we talking about building for 2029 when you have to build for sooner than that?
Because that's what they think. That's not what I think. That's not what you think.
Why
that's
on earth would they think? Wait, hold on. So So you and I are the only ones that have common sense here?
No, I think all the fans do. I think the Browns, when you listen to their top brass and these guys getting interviewed and talking about the PSL, well, we're going to release the highest end ones first, so there might be some sticker check. That's from your Fox 8, Ken. When you listen to that from the double Gallic, you look at that and you say, okay, they're totally out of touch with reality. Completely and utterly out of touch. Where's all this money in Cleveland coming from?
Well, I'm going to tell you this.
People that are going to throw money around for that.
I'm going to tell you this. If they are actually doing that, I would see. Okay, this is another thing that I don't know is true, and I'm just hoping it's not true. Jim, thank you very much for the call. If they are actually trying to build for just 2029, and it just 2026, 27, and 28 are a wash, that is a total mistake. That is a complete mistake. Then what was the point of keeping draft picks in 2025? What was the point of keeping draft picks in this draft? That wasn't seen as a great draft, but according to everybody, of the not so great draft in 2026, the Browns had knocked it out of the park. What's the point of that?
4 players for first round grade.
We're saying that they're when we say that they're planning for 2029, they've planned for a lot of years and they haven't been good. So maybe it's something that we're saying to ourselves just so it makes us feel better about the possibility of having to move on from Myles Garrett, but it's just nonsensical. Like, there's so many things that have to play out here, and these are not always the best laid plans. So if we're just thinking that they're building for 2029 and that's it, and we believe that that's what they're doing, they are making a serious mistake.
It's a carrot for fans to chase that, 2029 is not too long away. And if you think like 2029 could be your year for, the Browns to go to the AFC Championship game, it is something for the fans to cling on to hope to.
Bad is bad. If they're bad in 2028 and they don't make any significant improvements, then that means that the guys that you've drafted have not been good.
Right.
That means that the guys who we thought were good have turned into a pumpkin. They're not all of a sudden just going to turn into a good team because they ended up playing in a new stadium. That ain't going to do it. Sorry, Nick. Go ahead.
I do think it's just fans trying to chase hope, though, because this is a very uncomfortable conversation that we're forced to have on a Monday morning about a team that it felt like everybody was feeling really good about. That's what hurts about this, is it felt like Todd Monken was a little bit of a surprise out of left field, but then you hear from the guy and he brings some of that old school football mindset that we've been missing here, and I think a lot of fans got sold on Todd Monken. I think a lot of fans got sold on what they saw out of last year's draft class with Graham and Schlesinger and Judkins and Fannin, and even Aiden Huntington and Isaiah Bond played a role. And then you look at this year's draft class and you see even more young talent coming into the equation with, the 2 receivers that they drafted, Emmanuel McNeil Warren. Everybody kind of feels like like they've got a new fresh breath of air about the Cleveland Browns. And the quarterback thing is the quarterback thing, but we'll figure that out when we figure it out. But now maybe not so fast. Now maybe it doesn't feel as good as we felt over the last couple of months, because if they get ready to do this, they're telling you, and they're telling themselves, and they're telling their team that they're probably not going to be great next year, and that they're going to need then to draft, with all of these picks that they'll get from a Myles Garrett trade. Okay, now you're in the quarterback thing, and I know Daryl keeps talking about, you need to be 1, 2, or 3 to get Manning, Sellers, or more, if those are your 3. You're going to need a defensive end, too, if you trade Myles Garrett. So now your list of needs is beginning to grow.
So what the issue becomes is this is, again, where we're trying to – I am desperately, if you're building for the future, fine. You want to make the trade, fine. Again, if I'm saying that the best is a 7-10 team before any of this was even brought up, all right, then I have to understand that the possibilities of making the move. That's fine. Maybe I don't want to accept that reality as I start to say things out of both sides of my mouth here. I think people can tell that if they're watching on YouTube, but here we are. I don't necessarily want what seems to be an inevitability to some people to become the reality. If it does become the reality, it's much more than this. This is what I'm saying. Like, people are going, why don't you care? Why do you care about Torpedo in the season? Because I don't want to go through all this rigmarole again this coming winter. I don't like searching for coaches. I don't like coach search radio. I hate GM search radio. It's even more boring than coach search radio, because all you're basically going off of is what? Agents' good words about whatever.
Yeah, assistant GMs and player personnel guys.
And when you bring in new guys, your team is still young enough here. When you bring in new guys, you got to be careful that the new people coming in aren't trying to reinvent the wheel. That's why we've had so much turnover with players in years past, and we sit there and watch guys who end up playing in Super Bowls as help pieces with all those other football teams, because you switch out general managers every other year. Like, there has been some consistency with Andrew Barrett, and has not all been peaches and ice cream here. But we've seen some of these players really come to fruition over this time, and I don't want to have to restart that all over again. Also put in a new head coach, which it just turns into takes a Todd Monken guy who looks competitive, looks like he does have something to you. I know his age is something, and turn him into a David Culley Texans type figure. I don't want to do that. Like, we're putting a lot of eggs in a lot of different baskets that seem to be done by other teams, that have been done by other teams. But we have to understand there's good luck. There's things that had to work out there. There's the right place at the right time. And I got to make all that stuff work out. And it just hasn't happened that way with us. So we have to understand what we're signing up for if we were to make that move. Because now I have to turn right around and look at this football team in a different way than what I've been putting out before. If it's a 7-win team with the guy, what are they without the guy? Because I don't have much faith in the quarterback room. So if I don't have much faith in the quarterback room, what's the point of playing the veteran? What's the point of thinking you're going to win anything with the guy? And then we will have, because you will lose games, we will have to entertain the conversation about the head coach. This has happened a million times before. So you could sit there and put it on the media. It happens a million times before in this city, and it's happened before in other cities. Not as much as it happens with us, but you guys know how this plays out. So we can be excited about all the picks we want to be excited about, but when you make these type of changes and you don't stick to the plan, things tend to go haywire, because you will bring in a new person. That person thinks that they need to reinvent the wheel in that image, and then you're just asking for more time. It's happened for a long time here. 216-474-0092. Also, another thing that bothers me that I didn't want to talk about. That coming up in 5 minutes on The Fan.
Woo! Northeast Ohio. It's Mesozoic Mike. Dino.
Firestone Country Club in Akron. The Browns back to work in Berea tomorrow. 1 to 4 OTA sessions this week. Listen to The Fan Rewind, weeknights 11 to midnight. All the best segments from all our shows, and you can always listen on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
So John came in and he put a couple of carts before a couple of horses here. But I'll address it. Nick Pedone in for Anthony today. 216-474-0092. There's no people either want to make the trade or they're just mad for even talking about it. No winning today. No winning. Be an odd golf outing though coming up at 11 o'clock. I'll tell you that right now. It's going to be. I mean, they're going to ask you no matter what. But which was it, Owen? Were you the one who said to rip the Band-Aid off?
Yeah.
Let's
go.
I mean, if you really wanted to, it's like, well, they're all going to be lined up. You can't ask the same. I mean, you can ask the same question twice, but maybe you just if you have something in the works, which according to what we're being told, there seems to be something in the works. But these things fall apart. Part of me hopes it falls apart. Really?
Do you believe that when you say that? Because look at your face.
I don't know what I don't know what the return would be. So yeah, I still want the player I know is a Hall of Famer. Because right now it's just, well, it's a mystery box. I don't know what the return is. If it's from the 49ers and it's 2 firsts and Mac Jones, like somebody had tweeted at me, then maybe we'll discuss it.
What about the Rams? What if it's 2 firsts and verse? So you're at least getting a defensive pass rusher back in the trade that better fits their timeline. You know that's how it's going to be sold to the fans from Andrew Berry.
Obviously.
And then the 2 first-round picks. How would you feel about that?
Feel a hell of a lot better than what the person texted me said you're not going to like the haul. Because if it's 2 firsts and Jared Verse, I'm like, well, that's a first-round pick too.
Right.
He was, number 19 or 20 overall when he was taken by them, right?
And I think he's already been a Pro Bowler, right?
Yeah, he's a Pro Bowler. Absolutely a Pro Bowler. He's a fine young player. He's not Miles.
He's not Miles, yeah.
But nobody's Miles. So you know what you're doing. You're thinking, all right, you're doing this for a quarterback, obviously. The thing that John had brought up to you and I, Nick, and I'll address it now, because if a move happens, it'll have to be addressed in the future. I'm rooting against the Rams or the 49ers or the Seahawks or the who the hell's the other? Chargers. I'm rooting against them, one, because I want a higher draft pick, because it's better fuel to add to it. The second thing is I don't want to have to go through what Giants fans have gone through. Now, the Giants fans maybe feel a little bit positive about, Jackson Dart and Abdul Carter and the players that they have, and a lot of people think that they're poised for a bigger year this year. Maybe they are. But, they had to deal with a lot when Saquon Barkley won a championship with the Eagles. Like Saquon Barkley, if he's a Hall of Famer, which he's a running back, so it's not a guarantee, but he's been very, very good throughout his career. If Saquon Barkley goes to the Hall of Fame, he goes in as an Eagle. He won the Super Bowl as an Eagle. Well, if Miles ends up going to the Hall of Fame as a Ram and ends up playing for the next 5-6 years, I don't want to have to share him. I got a record holder with the Browns. I've had to share LeBron, so I guess maybe I should be used to these things, but I don't want to have to share them. Plus, I don't want to sit there and watch a guy that should have been celebrating with us win a championship with somebody else, because he was part of the foundation of this franchise. So there's a lot of emotion that gets played into that. So I'll answer it quickly, and then I'll move on, because John wanted to ask us or wanted us to answer it. Nick, if you want to answer it differently, fine. I end up having to pull against the guy because I want a higher draft pick, and I don't want him to win a championship with somebody else. Unless it would be late in his career, then fine, go ahead, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
As long as it ain't over us.
Right. As long as it's not over us.
I hope we're in a better spot by then.
I won't really care. Like, if say it's LA. If you're hosting a Super Bowl parade in Hollywood and that's how Miles is remembered, whatever. I guess I'd have to put up with that. I'm more concerned with the fact that, like, if this is something that they pull off and you get the 2 first-round picks and the player, whatever it's going to be, like, then you're always, like, isn't a piece of you with those first-round picks? And I get that it's going to be for the quarterback, but they're going to need premium edge rusher too, and I imagine that would probably also be in the first round of an upcoming draft, whether it's 2027, 2028, with all the firsts that they could potentially get from this move. Then that player is always going to be, and the quarterback, the edge in the quarterback that they draft from this Miles trade, it's always going to be compared to Miles.
216-474-0092. Rich in Ashton Bewley, you're next up on the Fan. Hello.
Hey, guys, great show today. I've got mixed feelings about Myles Garrett. Love him. Talented player. Holds the record for the sack record. But sacks don't win games. Maybe it's time we let him go.
Well,
Rich, I feel like sacks won you 5 games last year, though.
Which isn't a playoff team.
You had the league, but at least it was 5 games. At least it was not 0. We've been a part of 0 wins. We've been a part of 1 win.
Yeah, but if you had 0, Rich hung up. If you had 0, then you would have had what?
Well, 5 wins got you to the 6th spot.
Yeah,
and if you had 3 wins, you'd be in the 1 spot.
You'd have Fernando Mendoza, and you certainly aren't trading him if you have Fernando Mendoza. Right? You're not trading him if you have the number 1 overall pick or the quarterback.
I don't think. No.
So, this is the difficult part of it. Is you're not supposed to be that good anyway. So a lot of people say, what the hell? But you deal with both. And I don't want to have to go through so much changeover. I want the head coach to have a reasonable chance because, again, I think if you trade him, then I have to say I think the clock is ticking on whether or not because you're not set up to be good. Your offense is only going to be as good as the quarterbacks that play it. I know that they've been saying, Deshaun Watson looks so much better. Okay, but when there's a crowd around him, what has he done? Hasn't been a whole lot of good so far throughout his time. If you play the younger man and you play Shedeur Sanders, yeah, you might have a chance to dig it out, but I don't know how much faith anybody else has in him. And you have to have all this work out for you for the future. Well, I still got to worry about Todd Monken's future. I still got to worry about Andrew Berry's future, whether or not that's right or wrong. That's how I feel. Not about them personally; they'll be taken care of personally. It's just what your fan base goes through, and I'm not going to sit here and throw by 2029. What does that even mean by 2029? Again, just because and we got calls today. Well, they're planning for the new stadium.
To chase. That's all it is. That's really all it is when you say 2029.
But a new stadium isn't going to change that. Like we think about that way with the Indians of the years past. Like they still had good players that were coming up. If that team would have still played at Municipal Stadium, that still would have been a top quality American League Championship Series / World Series team year in and year out. The stadium had nothing to do with the moves of John Hart.
Then you would have had 60,000 a game.
You might have had that. It would have been a great baseball team at that time. It wasn't just because of the stadium. So if anybody in that organization thinks that all of a sudden, they're just going to come out because the stadium's new and their team's going to be good all of a sudden, no, hell no. Especially with how young the team is. Because by that time, Carson Schlesinger should be in his prime. By that time, Denzel Boston and Casey Concepcion should be getting into their prime. By that time, you got a lot of other guys who should be getting into their. Mason Graham should be in his prime. Should be contributing with some sacks, obviously some TFLs as well. I thought he had a solid rookie year. Because usually guys start to get better when it comes to pass rushing as defensive tackles as time goes on. If you're not good by that time, especially after a move like this, you ain't going to be good. So the whole 2029 thing is silly and something we're just telling ourselves because we don't have much faith in the team. And if the team feels that way, then they are dead wrong, and they need to correct that mistake as soon as possible. And that mistake may start very first with Myles Garrett. This whole planning on being good in 2029 stuff is ridiculous.
Am I wrong for having thought, leading up to, I guess, Saturday, that the stock arrow on the Browns was pointed up? Was I wrong for thinking that? They've got these 2 really good draft classes. They've got this head coach that seems to be bringing that old school mentality back here. But it's like, man, you're talking about trading Myles Garrett.
I think for the fans. Well, no, I think for the fans, yeah, words matter. And when you go from same answer every single press conference, where it wasn't like Kenny Atkinson, the difference is Kenny Atkinson said too much. By the way, every Cavs conversation brought to you by the fine folks at Surfside Hard Iced Tea, who ask you to please enjoy your Surfside Hard Iced Tea responsibly. Every conversation that goes around Kenny Atkinson was just he said too much. Kevin didn't say anything. Right. It wasn't that he didn't say enough. It was just the same answer every time. So when you move on from him and you bring in a new guy who is this isn't Freddie Kitchens craziness or anything like that. This is a guy who's giving answers. He's trying to be thoughtful. He's trying to throw an olive branch out to the fan base. Clearly, he's done some living. He's done some coaching. He's been around good situations, bad situations. He has a lot of experience. You want that to work out. You want that to come to fruition. And it would just feel like you're not even going to give him a chance. Because you can say, well, this year, and then you go to a rookie quarterback next year. Well, that rookie quarterback has to have a good first year, or then all of a sudden you're going to be in problems. So this all has to work out. Fine. If you wanted to move on from him, this year becomes a nothing. But then I have to be trustworthy, and I have to have trust in my ownership, in my front office, that guy doesn't go, that Todd doesn't go. No one's going to guarantee that. He's a head coach.
Right.
So who's going to guarantee that,
And I don't think fans want to hear that, that this year is going to be a nothing.
We're getting ready to start a season. It's June. We're getting ready to start a new season.
I've had nothing but nothing seasons. When I've had 2 playoff seasons. And one was a Joe Flacco magic carpet ride. The other one felt like a genuine playoff season, but the other one we knew what it was with Joe Flacco, and then the other shoe dropped and we found out exactly what it was, and it turned out to be a flash in the pan. Like at what point do we stop the madness and just try to get off the mat quickly and get back into contention? That's what everybody nationally tells me.
But if you're a proponent of making a trade, that this is part of what you would say, is that this is part of your reset to get off this crazy ride. Because Deshaun Watson has to play at almost an obscene level to be able to get a contract, especially if you've just made a move like this. If you do make a move, Deshaun Watson has to play exceedingly well for you to be able to talk about a contract or a franchise tag or anything like that.
Yeah.
So this would be part of your reset. So it would still be part of the process. But people don't want to discuss it, A, because they think that it's just June and there should be other things to discuss, or B, it bothers them so much because they want to get the season started. And they want to have faith in the new head coach, or want to have faith in the new rookie draft class.
Yeah, I think I fall into
They could still be good players, but you could still not have the right piece. If you don't have the quarterback, all right, that's been understandable. We haven't had the quarterback. But if you add that with the greatest player to ever play defense for this football team, you really don't have much of a chance.
Go find the quarterback, though. Does it?
Well, you can't find the quarterback until the draft.
Does it need to be these?
Depending what the court says today.
Yeah, right. Does it need to be these extreme measures?
Did I read that right? That he bet on the Indiana Hoosiers 40 times while he was with Indiana?
It was only 40.
Okay, we're going to get him right.
That's who they're talking about.
I pray that he wins his injunction today. I pray. I do not want to have that conversation. And by the way, there's so many people who say, when it comes to all these guys, you're just too worried. Nobody has said a damn word about Brendan Sorsby and whether or not I'm too worried, because they know it. Because not only if you don't get your injunction today, which I hope he does considering who his judge is, can I just say this? I really hope he does, and I think he has a good chance if he gets that injunction today. Then I don't have to deal with it. If he doesn't, then we're going to have to sit here and we're just going to force our hands with all this other stuff, and then I got to hope that I'm the franchise that fixes him. Now, we've had plenty of experience not fixing other guys with many other problems. This is a totally different animal. Oh, and he's going to play quarterback for me. Oh, and he also has to have a discussion with the NFL because he could end up starting the season under a suspension, just like what Albert Breer was saying last week, or for the last 2 weeks when they've had Albert Breer on. So that doesn't make the water any clearer for anybody. Because if you're still a bad football team, like Albert brought up, well, if you get him, then you want to have a red shirt year with him. All right, but if you're still a bad enough football team, and without Myles Garrett, it would seem to be that they would be. I mean, arguably, if you won 5 games with him, I can't imagine what you're going to win without him. But if you end up being in that highest spot, all right, what am I doing with the Sorsby? If I got this number 2 overall pick and Dante Moore staring me right in the face, am I going to take Brendan Sorsby over Dante Moore? Then I'm just doubling down on terrible decisions if I don't think that Brendan Sorsby is going to be good. And, of course, a lot of people are going to line up and say, well, Albert said he was going to be a top 5 pick. Then he's hearing he's going to be a top 5 pick. Yeah, we heard a lot of guys that were supposed to be top 5 picks. I brought up Drew Aller to everybody. Was supposed to be a top 5 pick. Matt Barkley was supposed to be a top 5 pick. Garrett Nussmeier was supposed to be a top 5 pick. Like, these guys are all expected to be picks. And then they go back for a year and you see what happens. So you can't just give me, well, he's expected to be a top 5 pick right now. I know I sound exasperated and I'm sorry. But we are reaching a critical mass here with this organization. Sorry, Nick. 216-474-0092.
We are reaching a critical mass. Like that's a great way to put it. I mean, what could go down as soon as today at 4:00 would be historic, monumental, would change the direction of the way that everything's heading in.
I hope I'm wasting everybody's time. I don't think I am, though. Not anymore. Ken Carman, Nick Pedone in for Anthony Lima. Lima in tomorrow, but we got Pedone. Pedone's a fine young man, live on the Fan. Friends, Ken Carman here for Window Nation. Window Nation.
everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying. Just beautiful.
Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay. Things people love.
Listen to 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn app.
Nick, I didn't even get a chance to ask you, who are you rooting for in the finals?
Probably the Spurs. I'm a hater. At my core, I'm a hater. I cannot pull for the Knicks. I cannot pull for New York in really any circumstances. So I'll pull for the 22-year-old to get the job done. I understand that might mean that the league comes to a close if Wemby finds how to win a ring in age 22 season.
I swear to you, no one's going to believe this. I have zero rooting interest in this series. I have absolutely zero.
You don't want to see New York lose?
I thought I wanted to see New York lose. I'm like, no, I don't.
Come on.
That's not my fault.
I agree. I have zero rooting interest. I've got a lot of rooting againstness, though.
Why do I want to root for the Spurs?
Because they're not the Knicks.
Okay, they're not the Knicks, but
if it would have been Oklahoma City, it would have been more like, I don't want to watch this.
Well, I have a great deal of respect for both. I don't. Why am I going to root for the Knicks? Because we gave up a 22-point lead.
I don't have respect for either of them. I just
Right. That's where I'm at. I get that that's petty. I have no shame in admitting I'm a petty person.
That's fine. I'm a petty person, too, about that type of thing.
Probably because I'm still mad at our organization. I'm going to root against them.
That's not the Knicks' fault, though. That's what I feel like if I'm rooting against the Knicks, I'm covering for the Cavs and the foibles of what they've had this
I'm mad at the Cavs
postseason.
still. I'm mad that Kenny Atkinson's still the head coach. So
okay, but
I'm going to root against the Knicks.
Okay, well, do you think, though, that the Knicks winning a championship somehow justifies losing to them? And that the Cavs wouldn't learn their lesson?
No, because I think they could have beat the Knicks, and then I could go, well, we could have won the championship then.
Right.
Oh, you think they could have beat the Knicks?
That actually makes me feel...
when you get swept.
If the Knicks win the championship, that actually makes me feel worse about what happened to the Cavs. Because I feel like that should be me.
Did you really think they had a chance against the Spurs or the Oklahoma City Thunder?
Probably not. No.
But if the Knicks have a chance,
if the Knicks pull it off and show me a roadmap as to how I could have sat there and compared rosters 1-to-1 and been like, wait, my backcourt, Donovan Mitchell and James Harden is supposed to be better than Jalen Brunson. What New York has, right?
Okay. What?
The only thing that the Knicks have going for them from a national, I guess, from an everyman national perspective, because I don't know ball, I don't care about ball really. I like to watch sports, right?
Okay.
I like to watch competition. Is they again got gifted the big layoff while the other team got, minimal layoff. I guess San Antonio is getting more layoff than the Cavs had.
Yeah.
But still, so I think if the Knicks win and it's a tough series, they're probably just going to go, well, they got that week off.
My answer to that is, though, respectfully, is that they didn't get gifted anything. They earned it. They swept the Cavs. They swept the Sixers. They did it.
Game one, they got gifted a game.
The series against the
Kenny
Pistons.
Atkinson, he did. He wrapped it up for him.
And to me, that's not the Knicks' fault.
He didn't even take a time to, get the gift over to him. He just let
true.
the time leak out.
And on the way out of here, if somebody handed you $100 bill and you took
that's
it,
a gift.
I go.
You were gifted $100 bill. I'm not going to be mad at the guy that gave you $100 bill. The guy just gave Owen $100. Yeah.
Well, that's a game.
That's free money.
But they had to win the next three, and they won the next three. Some would say it's house money, even though it didn't happen in your house. It was street money. Yeah, it's not. Which there's lots of street money.
WWF in '96
that gets exchanged all the time. I don't have anything against San Antonio. That's a good sports town. And obviously, it's a good basketball town. You look through the history of it. Going back to the whole George Gervin controversy that happened earlier this year. It's been a good sports town. Plenty of quality people there, I'm sure. I've never been there, but it seems like it's quality.
They got the Riverwalk. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it seems like they really, really, really love their Spurs, even when the Spurs haven't been so good. But they've had a really good history here over the last 30 years. I got nothing against San Antonio or their fans. I don't have anything against the Knicks. I don't. If they would have won it in 7, maybe I'd have more sour grapes, more anger, more vitriol towards the Knicks. I don't.
I think it's a jealousy thing for me then.
And I'm not jealous. It was our fault, not their fault. It wasn't, there wasn't anything that, the ball bounced the wrong way. It wasn't anything luck-wise.
I'd like to hear more about Knicks jealousy.
I could see, I'll let him hear in a second, but let me say this. Like, if it weren't for Michael Jordan, it's always argued those Cavs teams would have won a championship had it not been for Michael Jordan. I don't think that the Knicks are standing in between you and a championship. I think it's been yourself that stood in the way between you and a championship.
Right now, the guy standing between you and a championship's on the bench. He speaks after every game.
Zero ill will towards the Knicks or the San Antonio Spurs. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
With my jealousy?
Yeah.
I felt like when the Cavs made the trade for Donovan Mitchell, I did what pretty much every Cavs fan did. And I pointed at New York and I said, how did we pull this off and you guys didn't? We got the New York homegrown superstar to come to Cleveland, and then he signed another contract with the Cavs. So I felt like comparing 1-to-1, the Cavs were on a similar timeline as the Knicks, but the Cavs got the better of the deal because they got the superstar that New York was trying to make the trade for. New York gets the consolation prize in Jalen Brunson, and that turns out to be the better move. You can't really sit here and debate it. Brunson's in the NBA Finals, and Donovan Mitchell, I don't know where he's at. Probably Cancun.
No, we probably overextended ourselves in so many ways. Probably when we made the Harden trade, but again, you're better with Harden than you were with Darius Garland. With Donovan Mitchell, I don't know. I can't pay attention to their timeline, the Knicks timeline, more than ours. I think that Kobe Altman was probably under some pressure to get this thing going in the right direction. It was going in a right direction, but it was taking a long time to do so. How high that direction would have went, probably not very high, certainly not to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Agreed.
Probably to a play-in. So you had to do what you had to do. But I just don't have any ill will towards the New York Knicks other than, hey, they're a New York team and people like to root against New York teams. I got no ill will towards them. I certainly got nothing against San Antonio and their fan base and their player. It looks like Wemby's going to be the next big thing, but we made a big deal about a lot of these guys. We'll go ahead and we'll hold off just to see where it goes here. If
There's
the Knicks end up winning a championship,
mad, though? Like OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges and Mitchell Robinson in the finals.
Yeah, good for them.
You're going to be like, how'd they find these random dudes that are contributing?
If they beat us in 7, I'd be much more apt to be jealous if they had beaten us in 7. It's almost the same like when the Red Sox won in 2007. I had one game to win, to go to the World Series, and they would have won that World Series against Colorado Rockies. I don't care. I know about Florida and the Marlins and all that stuff in 97. In 07, they would have won that World Series against Colorado Rockies. I have way more hate and vitriol towards them and, Joel Skinner, even though I had to work with the guy later on. But still, I have way more hate and vitriol towards them than I have against the Knicks. Had we been swept by the Red Sox, it wouldn't have mattered.
Had we not blown that game 1, though, don't you think that series would have went differently?
Yeah,
no, I really don't.
Yes,
I
think, you think it's a 5-game series?
You don't
then?
roll over
I think
and
maybe
die.
it's a 5. Honestly, I think it's a 5 or a 6-game series. If it's a 6-game series, I still look.
We watch different things, then I guess.
Okay. I saw a team go out there and give up a 22-point win. Maybe it would have been a more competitive series, but I don't think they would have won the series had they had lost. They had won game 1.
You'd have been up 1-0, though, in the Garden.
And it would have been great.
And then Game 2 is probably a scheduled loss, so you're 1-1 coming back to Cleveland. And then Game 3, there was not the required sense of urgency out of the Cavs.
No, there wasn't.
In Game 3 or 4.
And
so if you came back to Cleveland 1-1, then it is like a brand new series.
I could give it to you every single way I could. I can't. I'm just telling you how I feel about that series. I know how I feel about that series, and I don't think they would have won it. And a 4-game sweep, I think, proves it. But if you want to use the 22-point lead as a downfall to lose the next 3 games, then I think it's a bigger indictment on the Cavs where they couldn't have just been professional. I know what happened was a terrible, terrible thing to happen, but for you to lose the next 3 games is completely unacceptable. And not even look competitive in that 3rd game afterwards in Game 4, that's even less acceptable for it. So, no, I'm not going to be upset with the Knicks because the Knicks went out and did what the Knicks are supposed to do.
Game 4. Game 4 was a total, they had quit. They quit before the ball was ever tipped.
But now all you're doing to me is Kenny stuff. I can't count this game. I can't count that game. I got to count the games. They lost that game, and then they lost the 3 others that happened.
They're down 3-0. They'd already lost. It was gone.
What about the expected
outcome? That's their fault, not the Knicks. I don't blame the Knicks.
Cool. Don't like the Knicks. Hate them. Hate their fans more.
Same here.
Wow.
Won't ever watch Night at the Museum again.
Nick Cage?
No, you're thinking of the one where he steals the Constitution.
Oh, Ben Stiller. That's right. Yeah, Ben Stiller. That was Night at the Museum. Robin Williams was in that movie. The late, great Robin Williams.
Nick Cage's team will be whatever Vegas gets.
I think I got to see that Marty Supreme movie now.
3,000 miles.
That's right.
Yeah, probably. And then you can hate that, too.
Then
Although I do like Chalamet on SNL.
Nick Cage had to make a lot of other movies because he had to pay off the IRS.
It happens, man.
Yeah.
Get off his back.
What are you going to do? Yeah, Willie Nelson had to make a whole bunch of albums because of the IRS, too. It happens. What are you going to do? All right, big thanks to everybody who joined us today. Danny was great. Daryl was great. Nick, thank you very much for your time. You were wonderful.
Thanks for having me.
Lima back tomorrow. We'll see whether or not Myles Garrett is still a Cleveland Brown. The league day ends at 4 o'clock, so post June 1st happens after that. We should find out something more coming up. Stay with us on The Fan all day long. Have a wonderful day, friends. Hey, sounds good.
Where's your entourage now?
Cool, I got on the last show.
Knock it off.